10 hours to address the House.
Business will be suspended at 09:45 hours to enable me to go and receive the President of the Republic of Mozambique. In the meantime, we proceed with the business on the order paper. Urgent matters without notice. I've seen the indications already. I don't know, are we jumping the gun? Please clear this so that we follow. We are starting with urgent matters without notice. If there's nothing, then we'll proceed. Not yet announced. What is Okay, let's make progress. Her Honor, the Vice President's question time. The Honorable Member for Kawambwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, the Vice President. Your Honor, Madam Vice President, the Zambian people, the Zambian people, Madam Speaker, are very alive to the fact that they were promised reduction in the price of fuel from the then 16 kwacha to 13 kwacha after removing 3 kwacha, which was being pocketed by middlemen. They were promised a 50 kg bag of meal to be sold at a very reasonable price. The Zambian people were promised a better exchange rate. The Zambian people were promised so many things which has not materialized at all 3 years down the road. Madam Vice President, when are you coming to this House and through this House to apologize to the Zambian people for hoodwinking them, for your failures, for failure to fulfill your promises? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order, honorable members. Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Kawambwa, yes, who is asking questions as if he has come from outer space. Madam Speaker, the questions, basically I can put the question in one word. He's asking about the cost of living. You don't have to list the things, because when I go on, you started, for example, with fuel. This government is not a pretentious government. This government found issues. That's what you did. Honorable Madam Speaker, people must realize where are we coming from. Yes, we did make promises, but the figures you keep dreaming about are yours. And when you make promises, it is normally being equal. So everything speaks in an atmosphere, in an environment. We found an environment, Madam Speaker, where what he's talking about was all imagination. Because when they talk about the fuel, for example, Madam, did they even pay for the fuel? Zero. They were pretending to the people that they were giving fuel at a cheaper price, when in fact they were piling debt. Well, $800 million you left. I'm responding to the Honorable. So you did not pay for the fuel. And this responsible government, in trying to reverse such issues, have had to deal with that. And that's not the way you look after a family. The Zambian family wants reality. You kept on until our economy was becoming a junk economy because of such decision based on political expedience rather than reality. And there you want to blame the cost of living on this government? If this government didn't come in with the date of accruing date, theft. But I don't know that word, whether with no intention of paying. What do you call that, Council? Say you did the destruction you did to the economy. You are talking of Milimil. I think you need to ask the people of Kawambwa where the honorable member comes from. The people of Kawambwa fishery, it's the farmer today. You want from rural areas. Let us go round and round. Farmer. This is how this shift has come. We are sitting back. Here and field. What would we are pretending, colleagues, because the exchange rate was already very bad. When Hakainde came in, the promise was fulfilled because the exchange rate went down. That is a fact. That is a fact. Then we saw, indeed, the exchange rate start rising, but it had gone down. If it hadn't gone down, what would have happened? Honorable. Honorable.
Order, honorable members. Let's listen to the answers, please. Can we have some order?
Madam, for living for our people. You want to talk about that? Yeah. I think everybody remembers the solution. You want me to finish, honorable member, your solution? If all of us live This young man here, oh, Honorable Msokotwane. We are able to reach where we are, Madam Speaker, restructuring the debt. And this should help us, and it will help us to... Did you talk about electricity? Yeah. I don't hammer me, I just tell the truth. So, Honorable, don't even go there. Politicking is good, maybe on an ant-hill, but here, facts be told, this government has done a lot. We would really be in a mess if this government did not come and be on top of things. The economy, yes, we will continue. That's why we are bringing in investment. There was no investment. Today you come here, you want to ask about these things, honestly. Even projects, they will ask, why not complete? When they were suspended during your time? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Mangango.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, State Council. Your Honor, the Vice President. The good people of Mangango would like to ask a question that is work in progress about the Katunda Lukulu Watopa Road. Your Honor, the Vice President, this Mombes, yes, this is a road that the previous government lied to the people of Mangango that they are going to tar it, but they failed to. Madam Speaker, Your Honor, the Vice President, Patriotic Front even won a seat in Mangango on the premise that they would tar Katunda Lukulu Watopa Road, which is a very important road. That is services like Mangango, Lukulu, Mitete, Mumbeji, Watopa, and so on, that the previous regime failed to tar. Your Honor, the Vice President, the good people of Mangango have even lost interest in the party by the name of Patriotic Front because of their dishonest, because of their mistrust, because of their...
Can we get, Honorable Member, can we get to the question? Get to the question, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much for your guidance, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Your Honor, the Vice President, this road was already even advertised by RDA looking for contractors to tar it. The good people of Mangango are simply asking when the construction of this road will begin. That road which was left by the failure or the failed, the lost Patriotic Front government, Madam Speaker. I submit. Thank you.
Order, honorable members, please, we have limited time, so let's ensure that we ask our questions precise and to the point so that we allow as many members to ask questions. Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Honorable Member for Mangango. Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Yes, I'll cough. Thank you very much. Really, the issue of roads is something else. We also remember us who were listening to the House, the previous House. There was really the issue that came out of here is that the roads were one of the things that was a successful story of the former regime. And yet we hear the cry from every part of the country. Yeah. The cry, colleagues, honorable members and the people of Zambia, is not only Katunda Lukulu. This is a reality. They cry, oh yeah, somebody is shouting, Imporokoso Kapota. Somebody will shout, because sometimes people want to paint a picture like there is one area where roads were done. Nothing was done, madam. People wanted people to believe that they were doing something. This is why we find ourselves in many roads in a deplorable state with a lot of debt again. But even with these conditions, I can assure the Honorable, who has also taken note, the Honorable Member for Mangango, that there was an advert. And indeed, the contract will be given. The little that we are making, we are stressed. But because every bit
last week, where the plane had to come back after 10 or 20 minutes of takeoff. What are some of the immediate measures government will carry out to create the confidence that is much needed in this very, very volatile sector? Madam Speaker, thank you.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the Honorable Member for Kantanshi to start with, who sees the environment that this government is created, the business, it's creating the business, environment. And he talks of the quality of planes in the service provision in aviation. Except that I'm not sure of this incident, sorry. I'm not sure of this incident. But, Honorable, the fact that there may have been a mishap may not have been unless you have found out that the issue was on the quality of the plane. Because anything of this nature could be attributed to anything. It could be human error, it could be something, and even in a car, things happen. But as to whether it's the quality of the plane, I am sure that can be looked at. But it has no intention, there's no intention that we should be acquiring planes that are of poor quality. So I can't answer this one. You have to verify that what happened, taking off and landing, was because of the poor quality of the plane. It could have been just something technical, that something that was overlooked. But we thank God if such a thing happened, that they were able to land back without calamity. So I don't have facts about that. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, the Vice President, Zambia has seen democracy growing, and including former presidents enjoying the freedom of expression and assembly, trying to change the political landscape, which actually in their time they never gave that freedom to the Zambians who were in the opposition. we see this same democracy and freedom of expression extended in South Africa, where the former president changed the political landscape just a few weeks before the elections, leading to a government of national unity. Now they are not able to choose a cabinet because of indecision. What lessons can Zambia learn from South Africa in the event that we have this kind of freedom of expression and people just coming and trying to change the landscape in the political arena overnight? What lessons can we learn from South Africa leading to government of national unity and failing to choose a cabinet because of indecision? Thank you.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the honorable member, except I am failing, honorable, to put things together because of the involvement in your question of South Africa and the issues that they are going through by trying to form a government of national unity. I think that's what you have said. Basically, I wouldn't want to go into discussing, another nation. But as Zambia, when you talk of the democracy, I think we have one of the most thriving democracy with our own system. Our own system. We are not exactly like them, because even the electoral process is different from us. But we have enough under the first past the post, which we use, unlike theirs. We have all the freedoms that we need. We are a democratic space, a democratic, government, nation, and this government will ensure that democratic tenets are followed to the book, So, colleagues, let us continue to enjoy our democracy with responsibility. That is all I can say. Whether it's freedoms of expression, people speak freely here. Whether it is gathering, people gather freely. Sometimes you are at a meeting and you are saying, we are not gathering, but you are gathering. You are speaking from a gathering. Then that becomes just politicking. But this government will not squeeze anybody, but everybody is responsible. That's what democracy means. You have your freedom, but remember there is freedom for the other person, and there is the issue of security of all of us together. So I am proud to be a Zambian, part of the democratic state that we are, and that everybody must enjoy their space. This government will not tamper with anybody's, but the Zambian people know who to listen to. Sometimes it's entertainment, sometimes it's serious matter. Our people, at the end of the day, they know exactly what they want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member for Shiwangando.
Most appreciated, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on this floor of this August House, we advised government to honor the Vice President, not to entertain the thought of exporting the maize stocks that we found, which were in storage for the period of about 3 years because of the partial droughts that we experienced in the past. We certainly agree with the President that indeed anger can be biblical. But to honor the Vice President, you were assured by your colleagues, Minister of Agriculture and Commerce, that we were food secure. And the challenges we are going through now could have been avoided if indeed this House performed its role of ensuring that people's food security is guaranteed. We don't even know where you are going to get grain to distribute under the disaster management. Do you still think it was wise for the two colleagues to deplete the maize stocks which they inherited by exporting the subsidized maize from our farmers
when we didn't know how the weather patterns were going to unfold. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu for that question. A very, very important question, except it is repeated, Madam Speaker. This question has been coming in this House many times, responded by me, responded by the Minister of Agriculture, and I think the rest. Very important. But maybe I can repeat the answers that we have been giving. Number one, you have said this government sold maize in stock. I think that is the way the first point the honorable member made. You don't call something yours when you have not paid for it. That is true. The honorable members here. If the honorable knows something else, maybe you need to bring out that. What I know is that when we came in, madam, farmers were complaining.
Sure, you would want to ask more questions. So let's listen so that we go through this very quickly. May Her Honor continue.
Honorable member, it is on record, as far as I am informed, that the maize that we had stored had not been paid for, and there was therefore need to pay. We were not going to punish our peasant farmers without paying them. So the sale was not out of being deliberate and wanting to acquire money, but because there was the farmers had not been paid. What else could we have done? That 3 years, there was no, as far as I know, there was no maize stored which could have lasted for 3 years. And that is true, colleagues. You don't even have the storage in the first place. This is reality. That's why if you look at our resilience in terms of the drought response, we have had to put in an amount to be able to construct storage, warehouses. Zambia today doesn't have capacity to store maize even for 2-3 years. So where did you store? This is reality, colleagues. This is reality. If you are not aware, find out. Find out. We don't have. Now, if we don't have, where did we store the 3 years? This is what I know. Any other information would be made available.
Order, honorable members.
Sorry,
order.
madam.
Please, can we maintain order? Honorable members are aware of what the rules state, that you cannot debate while seated. Let's remain silent while the questions are being answered and maintain the honor and dignity of the House. I don't know if Her Honor finished answering the question. It was done? Okay.
Yeah. These people have hammers. Madam, I don't have hammers to hammer people. I give them what I know as facts. If my facts failed, they are not truth, people can come and say this is exactly what we know. Tell us where this maize was sitting, which was going to be for 3 years. Because as far as we know, we have realized, in fact, as the entire SADC, I can speak for SADC, that we don't have storage for so many years. It can be a crisis. In case God gives us rain, which He will because it's faithful, and we grow, we must find this space to store for enough time, enough years, so that when we have a situation like we do now, at least there would be enough that we will have stored, we would have stored. We need the wisdom of Joseph here. Let us look at that. So, the issue that the minister said we were food secure. Colleagues, like I said in the beginning, all things being equal, the way we plan every year, remember that you always have a strategic plan, which is normally 500, isn't it? That is what we do. We offload, we put new stock all the time so that we are prepared. But we have never prepared for another full year. And now, up to now, we are still eating. What are we? That means there was enough plan to have enough stock for this time. By now, we should be harvesting and we should be restocking. Unfortunately, the drought has come. So to say, was it wise? For the moment, because we don't have the wisdom of God who knows yesterday, today, and forever, from what we knew. Resource to construct storage for
as we try to balance, we listen to the honorable members who are
Now, we are surprised that we are hearing from people who are anti-development that they are demonizing the issue of NAPSA and workers' compensation, pumping in money to this very important project. People of Kabwe and Zambia want to know, is this money that NAPSA and workers' compensation put in this important project, or is it free, or is it going to benefit this institution and the people of Zambia? Thank you so much, y'all.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you very much. They have to whisper to me. Yeah, but I think even the colleagues, I am glad, Honorable, thank you for the question. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think even when the Honorable was asking the question, I believe that everybody in here had the answer. The answer is not only from me, or even the Minister, or infrastructure. The answer, anybody, Honorable Member from Kana can give the answer now to that. Only the anti-development would be against that kind of investment. Yeah. Because investment is investment as it is. Yeah. That means that we have to have NAPSA from the beginning. NAPSA from the beginning has a portfolio for investment, colleagues. Yeah. I was Minister of Labor, even at that time. But why do we want to continuously, for example, externalize, remember, even in NAPSA money to invest in offshore issues? When we can invest here. So that is investment matter. The investment means it will even bear profit. Any pension scheme is supposed not to depend only on the contributions. It's supposed to invest so that the investment goals for the beneficiaries also grow, and they are able to look after their people. So anybody against such an investment is truly anti-development. So, Madam, we will continue to use our local money to support the development of our country, including investing in energy. We have to. We can't sit and cry without doing anything that we are able to do. So, Madam, that is the way to go. We are going the right way, and development will come. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Milanzi. I thought she had indicated. Oh, okay, then. No, I was looking at the female members. So since there are none, we'll go to the independents. Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yesterday, my brother from Shangom was trying to vindicate himself. And Madam Speaker, I'm trying to do the same. The Catholic Church in Chamilala Ward in Nyimba, Madam Vice President, for the last 5 years, they bought a new state-of-art equipment for the Chamilala St. Joseph Clinic, and I've been asking for power for the last 3 years now, and so as the people of Kacholola. Now, the good people of Nyimba are asking, Honorable, our minister gave a statement in Parliament that by December last year was supposed to have connected, and I know he's a very hard-working minister, and their stride is level-based. Now, I want to ask you, Madam Vice President, when will the people of Chamilala, especially St. Joseph and people of Kacholola, will be connected to the nation? I understand we don't have power in the country now, but when are we going to connect them? Because the population, the infrastructure, it's more than some of the constituencies here who are well connected and having proper power.
Order.
Thank you, Madam Vice President.
Order. Before her honor will answer later. As the time is 09:45 hours, I suspend business until the President of the Republic of Mozambique arrives. Honorable members are requested to remain in their seats. The Vice President's question time will resume after the President's address.
Well, thank you so much for being with us on Parliament Television. Business has been suspended until the Mozambican President, that's His Excellency Mr. Filipe Nyusi, arrives at Parliament building to address Parliament here in Lusaka, Zambia. And at the time business was suspended, it was Nyimba Member of Parliament who has just finished asking a question to honor the Vice President during the Vice President's question time. And just like going by what Madam Speaker has announced, her honor the Vice President's session will resume after the address by the Mozambican President.
So yesterday, Honor the Vice President did move a motion that Standing Order 26.1 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2024 be suspended to facilitate the delivery of the special address by His Excellency Mr. Filipe Nyusi, President of the Republic of Mozambique. And so we do expect the Mozambican President to be in the House at 10 hours. So business has been suspended until the President of Mozambique actually arrives. Madam Speaker has just gone to welcome or receive the Mozambican President.
So the President of Mozambique arrived yesterday at International Airport right here in Lusaka, Zambia, and he was received by the Republican President, Ms. Hakainde Hichilema, and he was accorded a 21-gun salute. And he also inspected the guard of honor. And they had quite a number of discussions. But before we talk about that, maybe briefly, we can look at the life history of the president. Yes, and we all know that he became the Republican president in 2015 in Mozambique, and he is the leader of Renimo, and we know the history and the bilateral relationship that exists between Zambia and Mozambique. We know Samora Machel that died between Mozambique and the South African border in that fatal plane crash in 1986. So on 1st March 2014, the Frelimo Central Committee elected Nyusi as the party's candidate for the 2014 Mozambican presidential election. In the first round of votes, we know that's the time he became a president of that country.
All right, so we must also mention that this is the first state visit that the Mozambican president is, paying to the country. This is in response to invitation made by his counterpart, President Hakainde Hichilema. The visit by the Mozambican president reciprocates President Hichilema's state visit undertaken to Mozambique from the 4th to 6th April 2023, and his official visit to witness the launch of the modernized facilities at Nacala Port in Mozambique on the 7th of October in 2023. And so the Mozambican president did arrive in the country yesterday. He was warmly welcomed yesterday at the KKI International Airport by His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, and the president of Mozambique's visit aims to boost already existing ties between the two countries. And the president of Mozambique actually did have a busy day yesterday. He did hold bilateral talks with President Hakainde Hichilema, and also he did take time to visit the memorial, park where our past presidents are actually buried. That's Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Dr. Chuluba, Mr. Levi Manawasa, Mr. Michael Sata, all buried there. So he took time to visit the gravesite of our past president. A busy day that the Mozambican president did have yesterday.
Yes, and during the discussion between the two heads of state, we did hear in the news yesterday that Mozambique has pledged to export electricity to Zambia. We all know the current situation in our country because of the drought situation that the country has experienced, the rationing of power and load management going for 12 hours in our country. So this will really help if Mozambique starts exporting electricity to Zambia and cushion the impact that electricity has posed on the Zambian economy. And one of the discussions that took place yesterday, the Mozambican president reaffirmed the firm commitment of bilateral working relationship between Zambia and Mozambique. And he also thanked the Zambian government for helping Mozambique to attain independence in 1975. And also some of the discussion that happened, like my colleague mentioned earlier on, the president, or the Republican president, Ms. Hakainde Hichilema, did visit Mozambique sometime in 2023. And one of the discussion that happened, the importance of this
also participate as a guest of honor at the 58th Zambia International Trade Fair that will take place. So we do expect guest of honor at official opening of the International Trade Fair. Of course, after his address today, the president of Mozambique is expected to undertake a tour of some selected manufacturing companies here in Lusaka.
There was also a signing ceremony. We did, the two heads of state did witness a signing ceremony, the MOU on political consultation between Zambia and Mozambique. We did see the foreign affairs and with his counterpart, Mrs. Veronica, signing an MOU and this relationship and what the benefits the two
framing sister countries and unlocking the much-needed economic opportunities for mutual benefits.
And just to take you back to what has transpired between the two countries in terms of the relationship, we all know that some time back the main product that Zambia has exported to Mozambique was a fermented milk product, and it stands at 4.8 million United States dollars, raw iron bars, which is worth $3.6 million, and also the excavation machinery, which was at 2.1 million United States dollars. Over the past 5 years, the export of Zambia to Mozambique has increased in an annual rate of 166% from 148 in 2017 to 19.7 million in 2022. And in 2022, Mozambique exported 42.7 million to Zambia. The main products exported from Mozambique to Zambia were electricity at 29.8 million, also refined petroleum 26 worth of 26.9 million, and mixed mineral of chemical fertilizer, which stood at 14.2 million.
All right, so in case you've just tuned in, we're coming to you live here in the chamber at the National Assembly. Today is a special day here at the National Assembly because we do expect the Mozambican president to come and address the House. So business has been suspended because Madam Speaker of the National Assembly, Madam Muti, is actually outside at the footsteps of Parliament buildings, ready to receive the Mozambican president, who will be at Parliament buildings in a few minutes from now. And as per tradition, whenever we have a visitor here at the National Assembly, they actually do go to the Speaker's chamber to actually sign in the visitation book. So that is going to be happening right here on our Parliament television. So we've looked at the political, career of the Mozambican president, and this time around maybe we'll get a little bit personal, Paulson, and just look at his life. He's had a very industrious political career. He actually did join politics when he was very young, at a tender age of 14. That's when he joined the Frelimo party, where he received military and political training. It's also interesting to learn, Paulson, that both his parents, his mother and father, were actually veterans of the Frelimo party. So politics for the Mozambican president actually runs in the blood.
Yes, Claudette, and one interesting part is that when I was going through the literature and the history of the visiting head of state from the Republic of Mozambique, is that his parents were farmers and kept quite a number of cattle in Mozambique. And maybe some people would like to find out, more especially our viewers and those of you that are following us on Facebook page and our social media platform, exactly where is this Republican president, His Excellency Felipe News, is coming from, and when was he born. And according to the history, he was born in Namao in Moheda district, Cabo Delgado province, belonging to the Makonde ethnic group. Both his parents, like my colleague mentioned, were veterans of the liberation movement, which is Frelimo, the party he's leading today. And at the start of the Mozambican War independence, he was taken across the Ruvuma River to neighboring Tanzania, where he was educated at Frelimo Primary School in Tundura. He pursued his secondary education at the Frelimo School at Marili in Cabo Delgado and Samora Machel Secondary School in Beira, in Mozambique.
Absolutely. It's also interesting to learn that he's actually a mechanical engineer, by profession. So he joined politics, and he was rising through the ranks in the Frelimo party He was a member of the committee in the Frelimo party, and he was also, defense minister before he actually became president in 2015, where he won by landslide, and in 2020 again he actually won, by landslide. He is married with 4 children, and if you did, were on social media yesterday, you must have seen his beautiful, wife. Her name is Ausaura Ferraro Nus, and so she's actually accompanying the husband here in Zambia.
And before being appointed as a cabinet by President Armando Guebuza, Nyusi worked for the state-owned Mozambican Ports and Railways Authority, CFM. He became the executive director of CFM Note, the 25. Praguda, a fellow of liberation struggle. So that's a brief history about the Mozambican desk, Felipe Jacinto Nus.
Absolutely, and so we wait for his arrival here at Parliament buildings in a few minutes from now, and is expected to address the House after until the President of Mozambique actually arrives. Mozambique seized its independence from Portugal in 1975, and he has served actually as the chairman of the Southern African Development Community since 2020. And during his term in office, President Nus has promoted peace and security, and has signed multiple, agreements with main opposition parties to bring a definitive and lasting peace to Mozambique. So, like we mentioned earlier, he once served as Minister of Defense from 2008 to 2014 under Armando Guebuza then.
The relationship, Claudette, between Zambia and Mozambique dates back as far as in the early 70s. We all know what role the first Republican president played in helping Mozambique turn independence from Portugal, I should mention. And there was a time the first Republican president of Mozambique, and this is Mr. Samora Machel, who visited Mbala when they had a talk here in Zambia regarding what was happening in Zaire then, which is Congo now. And at the time in Mbala, the president really wanted to get back to Maputo and was advised not to fly in the night in Maputo because of the security concerns. And the Mozambican president did fly to Mozambique and couldn't reach Mozambique. Between Mozambique and South Africa, they had that fatal plane crash, and 33 people died that were on board in that airplane crash. So the relationship is quite strong, looking at what has transpired from the time the country attained its independence in 1975 until now. And today we're appreciating the 4th Republican president visiting the 7th Republican president here in Zambia, and also extending a hand to officially open the trade fair in Ndola this coming weekend.
Absolutely, and so we're looking forward to his address any time from now. He's had a busy schedule since yesterday when he arrived in the country, and well, his official visit actually comes to an end on the 29th of June. Interesting again to learn that the Mozambican president is actually a soccer fan. He actually served as the president of Club Ferroviario de Nampula. That's a top division football club based in Nampula. And just now we look at his educational, background. The president of Mozambique in 1999 took a postgraduate degree in senior management from Victoria University in Manchester United, and from 2002 to 2008, he was a part-time teacher at the Pedagogical University in Nampula, Department of Mathematics. And so from 2007 to 2008, he actually did serve as Executive Director of the Procedural company in Maputo in the area of business exploration. And in 2004, President Nus led the Nampula Rail Club to actually win the title of national championship, or rather national champion of Mozambique. And then he did run for presidency later on in 2015 and won by, a landslide victory.
Earlier on, when business resumed at 09 hours, we heard from Madam Speaker where she made an announcement that the Republican president from the Republic of Mozambique has come with his cabinet and some government, senior government officials, and some of the members in his entourage. We do have Honorable Veronica Namile Makamo Dlovu, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation, Honorable Ivete Jaquia Maebeza, Minister of Lands and Environment, Honorable Carlos Jaquim Zacarias, Minister of Energy and Minerals Resources. We also have Honorable Matia Magara, Minister of Transport and Communication. In the same entourage, we have Honorable Ludovinia Benado, Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade. We also have Her Excellency Monica Patricio Clemente Musa, High Commissioner of the Republic of Mozambique to the Republic of Zambia, and some senior government officials that have accompanied the Mozambican president.
All right, and so we await for the arrival of the Mozambican president. Business has been suspended. Of course, it started off at 09 hours with the Honor the Vice President's question time, which has been interrupted. And so the Speaker did say that after the address by the Mozambican president, Honor the Vice President's question time is going to resume. And so after the Mozambican president addresses the House, he is expected to undertake a tour of selected manufacturing companies here in Lusaka, and of course tomorrow he will be officially, opening the 58th International Trade Fair taking place in Dola. So he's had a very, busy schedule since he arrived yesterday.
All right, and like my colleague mentioned, business has been suspended, and at the time business was suspended, the House was considering Her Honor the Vice President's question time, the 45 minutes allocated to members of Parliament to ask Her Honor questions without notice. And at the time of suspension, it was Nyimba Member of Parliament who had just finished asking a question to Her Honor the Vice President. So when business resumes after the address by the Mozambican president, the member of Her Honor the Vice President will respond to that question. And we also have a ministerial statement, and this will come from the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. And this ministerial statement is on the $72 million United States proposed investment in Zambia by Zam Diversified Corporation Limited. And this ministerial statement will be rendered by the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. We also have Mr. Movika who present a report, and this is a report urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on the road freight in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly. And this document was laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26th of June 2024. So as we speak, Madam Speaker has gone outside to wait the arrival of the Mozambican president to address Parliament.
Yesterday, Her Honor the Vice President did suspend Standing Order 26-1 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2024, to be, suspended to facilitate the delivery of the special address by His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto Nus, President of the Republic of Mozambique, on Friday, 28th June, which is today. And so, as we speak, business has been suspended, and members of Parliament were actually requested to remain in their seats as we wait for the arrival of the Mozambican president, who arrived in the country yesterday for its, the series of meetings, and then he'll be here at National Assembly to address the House anytime from now. The Speaker is actually outside waiting to welcome the President of Mozambique, and thereafter he will sign in the visitor's book as per tradition in the Speaker's the House. To Zambia, I know for a fact that there are a number of issues that were discussed in the, forward to his address.
Yes. 2022. No, for sure, earlier on we did talk about the strong relationship that Zambia has with Mozambique. And before we talk about that, that's Madam Speaker heading to the receiving bay where the Mozambican president is expected to be received from. So anytime from now we should be able to see the motorcade arriving at Parliament buildings. And after that, the Madam Speaker, together with the visiting head of state, will proceed to the Speaker's chamber, where he is expected to sign in the visitor's book, and they'll be able to just have a brief chat before heading to the National Assembly of Zambia. And we do have a similar legislative kind of arrangement, and by this, this is what I mean is this is a unicameral legislative body where you have one chamber, and it comes with a lot of advantages as well, because in a unicameral legislative body, a government institution has only one chamber or house, unlike bicameral legislative, which has two chambers, where we have the Senate and the House of Representatives, like we see in the United States of America. So we share a lot of things in common in terms of the legislative body, together with the Zambian legislative body. So most of the things that members of Parliament that have
a lot of things, other countries waiting for accompanied by the Sergeant at Arms. Arriving now, and we're all eagerly waiting to hear his address anytime from now.
This is very encouraging, Claudette. We're seeing heads of state visiting our country and also extending their visit just to address Parliament, which is one of very important aspects in our legislative or in our country as a democracy. Not too long ago, we did see the Italian president addressing Parliament.
Zambia is surely, a friendly, country, looking at the dignitaries that come through to the country, and of course to Parliament. Is really a good thing that has been happening, and we only hope that we'll be receiving more and more visitors so that we can enhance, our bilateral relations with other countries.
All right, earlier on I was talking about some of the bilateral relationship between Zambia and Mozambique, and I did refer to what really took place in 20 with the Malawian president, and we're talking about cooperation. Held at State House together with the Mozambican president, and the president did talk about how important this Nakara corridor is and the benefit that will bring. There you have it on your screen. That's the arrival of the Mozambican president. That's the motorcade arriving here. Been received by Madam Speaker. They'll proceed to the Speaker's chamber where the President is expected to sign in the visitor's book, and later on he will come in the chamber and address the members of Parliament.
Right, and as of now, business has been suspended until the President of Mozambique comes to address the House right here at Parliament buildings. And so that's Madam Speaker, accompanied by the Sergeant at Arms, ready to warmly receive the Mozambican president here at Parliament buildings. And we do expect them to have, a chat before he finally walks into the chamber. So there you have it. That's a brother, sisterhood, greeting. And there she is leading the president into the building. That's the president of Mozambique, His Excellency Felipe Nus, born on the 9th of February 1959. He is married to Madame Ausora Ferraro Nus, and together they do have 4 children. He's actually a mechanical engineer by profession. He has been serving as Mozambique's 4th president since 2015.
Yes, from 2015, and this is his last term according to the Mozambican constitution. So they expected to have elections in a few months or years to come. Chamber where the he's got a very busy where he's expected to officiate at this year's Zambia's International Trade Fair, a very, very big marketplace for various countries in the region, showcasing their product and services in our country. And it's a huge marketplace for various local companies and companies that do engage in production in Zambia.
I hope he's going to take time also to visit some of our tourist attractions. We do have quite a number of them, so he can have a story to tell when he gets back to Mozambique.
Very, very important aspect when it comes to tourism, because he will be the #1 ambassador in Mozambique to showcase some of the product and the wonders that we have in our country and some tourist attraction. And I was also impressed that yesterday he took some time to visit the Embassy Park here in Lusaka, where our former heads of state have been buried, and it also took some time just to go to the first Republican president's burial site, and talked about this significant role that Dr. Kenneth Kaunda played in helping Mozambique to attain independence in 1975, and it was Samora Machel who was the first Republican president, and just a few hours before he died, he was in our country, visited Zambia in Imbala, and proceeded to get back to Maputo, and he had that fateful accident between Mozambique and South African border. So there you have it. That's him signing in the visitor's book. I wonder what message will remain in that book, Claudette, looking at the historical background that we have between Zambia and Mozambique.
Absolutely, very great relationship that the two countries share, that Zambia and Zimbabwe. So, beg your pardon, Zambia and Mozambique. And so the president of Mozambique, he actually the leader of the Frelimo party that has governed Mozambique since its independence from Portugal in 1975. So he's just from signing the visitors book, having a little chat with the speaker, and anytime from now we'll see them walking down through the corridor into the chamber. In case you've just tuned in, the Mozambican president has actually arrived here at Parliament buildings, and in a short while from now he's going to be addressing the House. So urge you to stay tuned, because that is going to be happening in a short while from now. The speaker did mention that he's going to address the House in Portuguese. Of course, there's going to be some interpretation for those of you who do not understand, Portuguese. There's going to be some interpretation. So everything is set in readiness for the address of the Mozambican president.
Earlier on, Claudette, you did talk about him being defense minister before you won the election in 2014, and he was sworn in 2015. But before we talk about the very beautiful present that Madam Speaker has presented to the visiting head of state, the Mozambican president. Look at the art.
That's a sculpture. I wonder what that sculpture is. So the speaker is actually explaining to the Mozambican president what that sculpture is and what it signifies. And that's usually what happens when you have a visitor. You get to exchange gifts, something that they can always remember each time they go back to their country. I was in Zambia and I was given this, and that's what happens when countries actually have these strong ties. It's not only political, but also on the softer side, on the lighter note. So that's a beautiful sculpture that has been presented to the president of Mozambique.
From where I'm seated here, what I'm seeing, that sculpture, Claudette, looks like different people coming together in unity. I'm sure that's what it symbolizes. There are three people. I'm sure it's talking about the importance of unity. So Madam Speaker has presented a gift, and the Republican President of Mozambique, His Excellency Mr. Felipe Nyusi, has also presented something to Madam Speaker.
That's a sculpture of a woman carrying something on top of her head. I'm just thinking that it symbolizes just how hardworking us, the women, can be. We are
a huge responsibility that Madam Speaker has.
Of course, she's a woman, so she does carry a lot of responsibility. So from different facets. So, and then she carries all that on top of her head. So I'm sure that's what that sculpture symbolizes.
We're just thinking and trying to interpret those sculptures that are being presented to the Mozambican head of the Republican president and also Madam Speaker. They are very, very interesting exchange of gifts there in the Speaker's chamber. So anytime from now, we'll be able to see Madam Speaker heading back to the chamber for the visiting head of state to address Parliament today. I know all eyes are glued to Parliament television and ears glued to Parliament radio just to hear what the head of state from the Republic of Mozambique will talk about in his address today.
Absolutely. We're also live on our Facebook page, so if you're not able to watch television or listen to the radio, you can always get your gadgets, which is a cell phone, and witness what is happening right here on Parliament television. So that's the Speaker and the First Deputy Speaker, Honorable Malungo Chisangano, just taking a picture. Very memorable event. It's going to linger in their lives for years to come.
So going by the standing orders, we expect a Member of Parliament to move a motion of thanks where members of Parliament will be accorded an opportunity to debate the President's address, and this has been enshrined in our standing orders here at National Assembly, where visiting head of state, after his address, a Member of Parliament will move a motion and seconded by another Member of Parliament, and later on members will be accorded that opportunity to debate his address, and the question will be put to adopt the President's address by members of Parliament.
All right, and so we await for the Mozambican president to finally be led into the chamber so we can have that address. He's going to address us in Portuguese, but there's going to be translation. So members of parliament actually have their gadgets ready for the translation. And after the President's address, we have a continuation of Her Honor the Vice President's question time. Remember, if you were following us from the beginning, Her Honor the Vice President's question time was suspended because Madam Speaker had to leave the chamber to go and meet the Mozambican President. That was at 9:45. So after the address, we'll have a continuation of Her Honor the Vice President's question time. So we urge you to stay tuned right here on Parliament Television.
So after the address, we expect, like my colleague mentioned, Her Honor the Vice President to resume, and we also have a ministerial statement. This will be rendered by the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, and this ministerial statement is on the 72 billion United States dollars proposed investment in Zambia by the Vietnam Diversified Corporation Limited. The House is also expected to consider the motion that will be moved by Mr. Movika Shangombo, Member of Parliament. He is the chairperson of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply, and this motion will be urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply. This House adopts the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on the road fleet in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly. This document was laid on the table of the House on the 26th of June 2024, and it is expected to be seconded by Ron Member of Parliament, Mr. Joel Chibuye.
And so when business was suspended, Madam Speaker did actually request members of Parliament to remain in their seats as they await for the arrival of the Mozambican president into the chamber. So that's what you are seeing right now, members of Parliament all set with their gadgets for translation ready, and we have different media that are here, including the media from Mozambique. I'm just thinking that they could be carrying this procession actually live on the Mozambican broadcasting stations. So that's the Sergeant at Arms and Madam Speaker and the Mozambican President being led by the Sergeant at Arms, and they're coming right here in the chamber in readiness for the address.
So I'd like to urge you to stay tuned on Parliament Television, because anytime from now the Mozambican President will be addressing Parliament. So you can see on your screens, that's Madam Speaker and the visiting Head of State, His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto News, about to address Parliament today. I'd like to urge you to stay tuned.
Honorable members of Parliament, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Mozambique and Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
Bom dia. Muito bem.
When business was suspended, the House was considering the Vice President's question time, and the Honorable... No, this is... Sorry. Honorable members, the House would like to welcome to the Assembly the President of the Republic of Mozambique, His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto. We are honored, Your Excellency, to have you in our midst. May I now invite you, Your Excellency, to deliver your address, and the members will take their seats. Your Excellency.
I can sit it. I can sit. Okay. Thank you very much. I don't know if I have to deliver my speech in English or in Portuguese.
Portuguese, Your Excellency, if you are okay with that.
A lot of people are here coming from Mozambique. I can see it. From Tete. Nyanja, Chewa. Yes. Thank you. I will try to do it in English today. Your Excellency Nelly Muti, Speaker of the Zambia National Assembly, Honorable Mulungu Chisangano, First Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Moyo, Second Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Stanford Maluza, Chief Whip of the ruling party bench, Honorable Robert Chabinga, Leader of Opposition, distinguished members of the Zambia National Assembly, distinguished members of the National Assembly of the Republic of Mozambique, honorable members of the Cabinet of the Republic of Zambia and of the Republic of Mozambique, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am highly honored and grateful for the opportunity and the privilege to address this August National Assembly of Zambia through you, respected representatives of the people. We extend with appreciation our greetings to the Zambian people. Allow us to take this opportunity to convey warm and affectionate greetings from the approximately 33 million Mozambicans to their brothers and sisters in Zambia, deservedly represented by you. We are paying this state visit at the invitation of my brother, His Excellency Hakainde Hichilema, President of the Republic of Zambia, in order to strengthen the friendly and the cooperation relation between our countries and peoples. On our visit, we are accompanied by a delegation from the National Assembly of the Republic of Mozambique, which consisted of, I will try to ask them to be seen. First one, Felix Avelino Silvia. I believe that I can say this is representing Frelimo Party. Mr. Maria Inez Nseka, also from Frelimo Party. The third one, Mohamed Da Costa Ali Yassine. This is from opposition Renamo. And Silverio Pedro Eugenio Samuel, also from opposition, but in DM. Thank you very much. Excellencies, we have come to this National Assembly to pay tribute to the people of Zambia for their commitment to building the rule of law based on the values and principles of democracy and justice in a plural society that is Zambia, thus making it on one of the good examples in our Southern Africa region of the vitality of multi-party democracy. Honorable members of Parliament, Excellencies, our presence at the August House of the People reaffirmed the vitality of the historical and cultural ties that bind the peoples of Mozambique and Zambia. In fact, when the Northern Rhodesia, now Zambia, became independent, the late President Kenneth Kaunda turned this country into a real guard for the liberation movements of Southern Africa. In the specific case of Mozambique, Zambia welcomed many nationalists in transit to Tanzania and to interior of Mozambique in the midst of the struggle for independence. That is why on September 7th, 1974, the Mozambican chose the city of Lusaka for the signing of the accords through which the colonial state formally recognized the Mozambican people's right to self-determination. Madam Speaker of the National Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, since the proclamation of national independence 49 years ago, on June 25, Mozambique has continued on the path of building a democratic state of social justice for the prosperity of Mozambicans. Our unicameral National Assembly, made up of 250 members of Parliament, currently has 3 parliamentary benches, namely Frelimo, Renamo, and MDM, represented by, or here by the members of Parliament we introduced it at the beginning of our speech. Our National Assembly is quite balanced in terms of gender representation. In addition to being chaired by women, the representation of women in the Mozambican Parliament is 43%. Honorable members of Parliament, Mozambique is relatively stable, taking into account terrorist activities in the north of the country, and continues to take visible steps towards sustainable and inclusive development. However, the government and the people of Mozambique remain firm in continuing with the efforts to seek definitive peace, as well as the structural reforms that are necessary for the country to remain viable and attractive to domestic and foreign private investment, a necessary condition for the creation of the jobs that our people, particularly young people, so dearly need. Regarding the internal peace process, the government and Renamo reached an agreement for definitive peace in 2019, based on dialogue, trust, and mutual respect between the parties. Within the framework of this agreement, in June last year, we completed the disarmament and the demobilization of the approximately 5,200 Renamo guerrillas and the establishment of the reintegration pensions of the last 900 beneficiaries in the final phase. The fight against terrorism in Cabo Delgado has made significant progress. Our defense and security forces, with the support of local forces and the friendly forces of SADC, we call SAMIM, and of Rwanda, have been destroying the terrorist base, putting the ringleaders and the operatives out of action. Even with the withdrawal of the SADC mission in Mozambique, SAMIM, to be completed by 15 July, our resolve to fight terrorism remains unwavering, as we are right that it is the primary responsibility of Mozambicans to defend every inch of our territory. As part of the reforms, Mozambique, like Zambia, is committed to deepening the process of decentralization as a factor to reducing regional imbalances by maximizing local potential. We commend this National Assembly for the approval in April, of this year of Law Number 1, 2024, Law of Constituents Development Fund, that reinforces the decentralization management and the control of financial resources in the responsibilities for the district level. Recently, our country decided to further deepen decentralization with introduction of the new provincial decentralized governance model through the revision of the Constitution in 2018. as part of a dialogue for peace between the government and Renamo. The great innovation of the model is the election of provincial governors by the list of parties, coalitions of parties, or contesting groups of citizens. We believe that as a sovereign country, we have the right and the duty to build our governance model. We are not afraid to make mistakes, but we are always open to correcting those mistakes until we reach the governance model that best suits our reality and the development needs of our country. Therefore, respected representatives of these sisterly people, let us not fear to make a mistake when we want to find the best solution for the well-being of the people we represent. Represented members of Parliament, be open to overcoming mistake together and on basis of dialogue between brothers and sisters of the same homeland. In fact, as an African proverb teaches us, to get lost is to learn a new way. That is, to get lost along the way is to learn a new way. We in Mozambique, despite adversities of different nature, remain committed to the path of choosing to build a democratic society. That is why since 1994, we have never filed to hold multi-party general and local elections. As part of strengthening our democracy, in October last year, we held the 6th local government election in 65 municipalities, and in October this year, we held the 7th general presidential and the parliamentary elections, and the 4th elections for the provincial assemblies. Fortunately, I will not run, thus fulfilling my full duty to abide by the Constitution of the Republic after my second term. Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, honorable members of Parliament, Excellencies, before concluding, we would like to leave you with 3 important messages. First, we are here before the distinguished members of the National Assembly to once again recognize and thank the people of Zambia for the friendship and the solidarity they have always shown for the just cause of freedom and peace for the peoples of the Southern African region, and in particular, the Mozambican people. Second, we are here to reaffirm that Mozambique and Mozambicans will always continue to stand by Zambia and the brotherly people of Zambia on this journey, and now for the economic development of our countries, jointly harnessing the comparative advantages in the areas of mining, agriculture, transport and logistics, energy, shared water courses, environment, trade, among other areas. Thirdly, in order to achieve the prosperity we desire for future generations, our countries must persist to consolidating more just, united and United Nations, cultivating reconciliation, tolerance, and a constructive debate through assemblies or parliaments and other platforms for democratic dialogue and different levels. I conclude by asking the members of the National Assembly to bring to their constituencies this humble message of eternal friendship and the fraternity of Mozambicans to their sisters and brothers Zambians. Zikomo kwambiri. Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it. Thus, the Mozambican president, Mr. Felipe Jacinto Nyusi, just delivered his address by of Labour. He did greet the chief whip, local government minister, and also shaking hands with the Minister of Livestock, Minister of Water, and Minister of Broadcasting and Media, and chatting with the Minister of Mines, and this is Honorable Paul Kabuse there. And before leaving, he also said one Zambia, one nation, and a very interesting and historical moment here in Parliament, and busy chatting with the Minister of Energy, because we all know what is going on, and going by his pronouncement that was made yesterday at State House, where he said Mozambique, who export power, has agreed to start exporting power to Zambia, looking at the predicament that the country has found itself because of the El Nino, the drought that the country experienced. We are experiencing hours of load shedding, so it was very important for the Republican president just to chat with the Minister of Energy, because he knows what is on hand, and it is an issue that is being experienced by different countries in the region. So shortly, business resumes, and cross back to the floor of the House for resumption of business. Remember, at the time business was suspended, the House was considering our honor the Vice President's question time. And at the time, it was Nyimba, Member of Parliament, was asked a question, and Her Honor was about to respond. Keep watching Parliament Television.
Order, honorable members. When business was suspended, the House was considering the Vice President's question time, and the honorable member for Nyimba had finished asking a question. Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Indeed, when business was suspended, I was just about to respond to the question asked by the honorable member for Nyimba, who wanted to know when the following areas in his constituents would be connected to the national grid. He talked of Kacholola in St. Joseph's Mission Hospital, Chamilala, and the surrounding areas. Madam, this is a very important question. Good. Very difficult for me to respond on particular places. I wouldn't know. This question ought to go to the Minister of Energy, or give me time to go and find out. But really, questions of this nature go to the Minister Madam, I thank you.
Thank you very much for that. The next will be the Honorable Member for Congo.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the to come back. And when they are coming back, we are also seeing a resurgence of bangers and violence. Now, Madam Speaker, my question is, where the new President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration have handled the economy, they've done such a wonderful thing. It shows actually that they are putting Zambians first, and like putting their pockets first. Now, my question, the Honourable Vice President, is, what measures have you put in place, both short-term and medium-term, to try and alleviate the drought that we are faced with, as well as the energy problem that we have? I thank you.
Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Sikongo. Madam, I thank you. I thank you for giving this opportunity to respond to this question. The Honorable Member gives a preamble on the previous regime. I don't think that is something we can debate. It is straightforward. Except the question is, what have we put in place in both short and medium term to mitigate the drought and also energy? I think those are the two concerns. I believe that the Zambians, through this August House, have been following what has been happening, or what we want to do and what we are doing. It is important for me to give just a little overview of what we are faced with. Madam Speaker, this literally half the country received no rain for any kind of product. We found ourselves million 1.6 million severe loss of life. And the government has a responsibility, a duty, to look after 6.6 million people until another harvest comes, which only comes in May. And from now on, in fact, the past 2 months or so, government has had to come in. That is why in here we cannot, Madam Speaker, start answering individual parliamentarians' questions about the drought in their constituents and what we are doing, because we are doing it generally. 85 districts have been affected, and government is looking after people in 85 districts. And this is why we need above 34 billion kwacha, to the tune of 1.4 billion US dollars for us to mitigate this. It's a lot of money. Of course, there was some money in the budget. As you have seen, the minister has, brought out a redesigned, if I can use that, budget. He has had to look at that and take some of the resources to the drought response. It is a long statement, Madam. The time is running, but I don't know how else to put it because the question is loaded. I would just say this government is approaching the drought from a two-pronged situation. One is to ensure that people have food. People have food. Yes, like it was said earlier, we may not have enough food, but like I'm standing here, government has gone as far as importing maize, which is the staple food, for the 6.6 million people. We are working with Tanzania, and we believe that before the end of next week, the contract will have been signed. That is how serious this government is. And in that, we realize that other than just food that people need to survive, sustaining life, there is the second part, which is to create resilience. In creating resilience, one part of recovery is water. Water becomes critical. So this government, in addressing the issues, has started with food, maize. We will ensure there is maize. That's why we are importing direct government to government. That is why we are working on water. And let me use this platform, your house, madam, to call upon members of parliament in the 85 affected districts. We should find the time next week to meet so that we look at the situation in the 85 affected, because we need to provide water. The Ministry of Water and Sanitation is on it to ensure, because some water levels have gone down, some shallow wells are drying, so we are going in. We have planned for that. We have also planned in resilience. We have planned for damming, so that when the Lord God gives us rain, we are able to have dams and be able to produce using this water. We are also encouraging our people, Madam Speaker, to be able to grow under irrigation. Wetland, farming is encouraged. And for the members, honorable members of parliament, you can do even just a 50 by 50 because you have the capacity. You tell me about energy. Energy, the way we are approaching it is that energy, which cannot be, you can't invest in hydro energy, for example, in 2-3 years. It's a long term. But even if you had done that, because of the water situation, water which has gone down, it would be almost impossible today to have hydro-generated power because of the water levels. That's why this government has opened up the space for alternative power generation, and one of those is solar. All of us can go solar. In our homes we can do solar. Have some solar provision, particularly members of parliament. That will mean you releasing a little power that you use in your home, on your farm, to go into the grid for other sector, like the productive sector, the businesses. That is, in the shortest way, madam, this is the shortest way I could put it, because I need to have the entire statement. But this is what your government is doing. Because you asked a very important question, it has taken me almost all the time. Madam Speaker will give me the bonus today of no more questions after this one. Thank you, madam.
Unfortunately, we still have 1 minute, so I'll call upon the honorable member for Nalolo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, the Vice President, good morning. Your Honor, the Vice President, a few weeks ago, Secretary of the Cabinet did give some comments on civil servants who, this time, if they need to be disciplined or let go, they must be done from their respective ministries. My question to you is that what is the status of the over 300 employees in holding at Cabinet? Has government exclusively dealt with them, or are they still drawing salaries without working? I thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I think this question, it should be him who had asked a question of a similar nature. And when I came in here, not directly, but I did refute the issue of the 300, because I gave figures of those that were in holding positions. It was not 300. I brought the responses here. I'm sure if he goes, he will find those answers. As far as my office is informed, there are not 300. The Yes, I am Honorable former Minister Chitotela. This is the answer I have. Definitely, discipline must be followed. And you are aware that government has redrawn the disciplinary code so that people that offend will not be in holding position. But maybe I need to clarify that not everybody in holding position is because they have committed an offense or they have committed some disciplinary matter. No. Sometimes it's a matter of movement while they hold to be moved to another position. It's not everybody who is on discipline, because discipline must be dealt with, not to be holding position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the Vice President's question time. And at this time, I suspend business for 20 minutes for tea break.
Good morning. You are tuned into Parliamentary Television. Would like to thank you for your viewership, because business has been suspended for a few minutes. We just had Honor the Vice President's question time, and earlier on we had a special address to the House by His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto Nus, President of the Republic of Mozambique. He did talk about, in his address that is, he did talk about the cordial relations that Zambia and Mozambique have, and that Zambia has always been hospitable and hosted a number of countries during the liberation struggle, a gesture he does appreciate. He did thank the people of Zambia for the friendship they have with Mozambique.
He also talked about the role decentralization is in Zambia and also in his country regarding the CDF and how it's trickling down to all the districts in Zambia, and also talked about brief information about the Mozambique Parliament, which stands at 43% women representation in that house. And earlier on, when he was starting his address, he acknowledged KK's, that's David Kaunda's contribution to the attainment of independence of Southern African countries. So very, very inspirational address that the visiting head of state, the Republican president of Mozambican president, made to the House this morning.
At the start of business at 09 hours, Madam Speaker did make some announcements. She did acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of honourable ministers, honourable members of Parliament and senior government officials from the Republic of Mozambique, and they were here to witness the address by their president, that's the Mozambican president.
The Madam Speaker also recognized in the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Mapa Academy Primary School in Siakobe Village in Choma District. The Madam Speaker did warmly welcome the visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
All right, so we'll equally take a break. Usually the break is at 10:40, but because we had the address by the Mozambican president, that's the reason why business has been interrupted at about 11 hours. So we'll take a break as well, and we'll be back shortly. You can now advertise on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. For more information, call 0977 854102 or 0977 536487. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.
The National Assembly of Zambia celebrates 100 years of representing the voice of the people.
First of all, I must say a big congratulations to the National Assembly for clocking 100 years. It's not easy, and I think we must also thank every leader that has passed through the National Assembly in terms of leading Parliament at Speaker level, but also at many other levels like the clerk and others, including the members of Parliament that have been through that very important house. Indeed, for us as Operation Young Vote, we really would want to appreciate this centenary celebration. It's not, it shouldn't be taken for granted by anyone, whether they are people are in Parliament, those in Parliament, or those of us in civil society or in any government wing. I think we must celebrate this. The challenge and the problem that we have mostly as Zambians is that we tend to belittle achievements and milestones that we make. This is a huge milestone, and this we must celebrate, and of course it's not easy. Many countries would want to get to the level that Zambia has gotten, but they are unable because of probably the differences, the wars, and all those things that are happening there. I think we must pat ourselves on the back for this celebration, this milestone. It's really incredible. For us, really, we need to acknowledge the contributions that Parliament has made to national development of the country. Mind you, first of all, Parliament must be recognized and seen as a bedrock and as a cornerstone of democracy. Even when we get back to where we were as a country, a one-party participatory, democracy, we saw that there was, competition between individuals to get to Parliament as parliamentarians. We saw that even when it was only one party that was participating, it was UNIP, but then within UNIP, individuals were contesting, were competing for the seats that were in Parliament to be able to represent the masses. Now, I said it is a bedrock, but also a cornerstone of democracy. And this we cannot take away from Parliament. Remember that the aspects of elections involves the people, and involving the people entails that elections are, central in terms of engagement and participation of citizens. So I really, on behalf of Operation Young Vote and the young people, across the country and just across the world, we want to appreciate our Parliament for clocking this number of years, but also that there has been some good governance practices that we have seen, and this has been through lessons and experiences. I mean, we have evolved. We have come from where we did not do well. We are moving and improving, and this really must be recognized, because it must also be realized that good governance is not a luxury. Good governance is a necessity. It is a necessity for national development. Where there is no good governance, it becomes very difficult for development to come by. So indeed, we want to appreciate the good governance that has come from the National Assembly, Parliament. We want to appreciate the democracy and the credentials that have kept Zambia, being looked at as a better country by what has obtained at the National Assembly and Parliament.
The National Assembly of Zambia celebrates 100 years of representing the voice of the people. The National Assembly of Zambia celebrates 100 years of representing the voice of the people.
As you know, the National Assembly is a very important organ of three arms of the government, and without the National Assembly, basically, it's very, very difficult to point to certain developments in the country. One, National Assembly enables enact certain laws that enhance democracy, that improves other people's lives, and moreover, National Assembly is a House of Representatives which is amplifying the voices of the marginalized, especially those in the rural areas. The National Assembly basically has contributed in the sense that they've enacted certain laws that has enabled certain activities to take place, and those are the activities that improve the welfare of individuals. We also appreciate that we have opened offices for members of parliament in various institutions. However, we are still looking forward to employing qualified people so that they can do a lot of research. And when the members of parliament go to parliament, they must be well informed and discuss very informative, and should be able to contribute to the enactment of laws that will improve the welfare of the people. Zambians should appreciate the role Parliament is doing. Zambians should encourage and also come up with certain suggestions on how we can improve certain aspects of governance itself. We are looking forward to everybody celebrating the National Assembly, because this is a very important organ of our government.
Well, I think my message really is to celebrate this length period of achievement, having a successful National Assembly. National Assembly, because that is a house for the people, and it means that we have had a point of convergence as a people where we are deliberating national matters via our people that we elect to represent us. And National Assembly also has helped to transform this country from different perspectives to now where we are saying, I think that we are a strong democracy given where we have come from and how our National Assembly today is characterized with. We have different members coming from different backgrounds, from different political parties. I think that a house of that nature means that the people themselves have grown in terms of how to look after themselves using representatives. But laws have also been made in that house, which the laws have also helped transform this country, bearing the current context. We were a small unit as a nation, but now we are living in a global village, where to be able to fare very well in a global village, you need to also be organized in a manner that you have your own identity, but you can still participate in a global village without losing your own identity. So I think that the National Assembly has helped us to protect our own identity as a nation, while effectively participating in the international politics that makes us also relevant. So National Assembly still remain a very, very important place for Zambians, because regardless or despite our different backgrounds, this is where we go and unite and say our common agenda is Zambia, and our common enemy is poverty and inequality. That is a house where these matters are now being brought, regardless of different opinions of politics our representatives have, but they meet there to more or less have a common understanding and agenda, which is to drive the development of this country forward. Youths should learn and appreciate that house, because we are told that the first people that sat in there, majority of them were young people, youths, and me coming from a youth organization, youth development organization, we encourage young people to create particular interest, to also identify themselves with platforms like a National Assembly, because sometimes that house is perceived to be a house only for older people and only for people with very high education, but government has only raised up to a minimum age of 18 years, minimum qualification of grade 12. So this means that National Assembly is still a place where even young people should be able to aspire and go. So that our participation now should not that be which is associated with causing violence or being used as tools for political violence, and yet we are not aspiring to become such leaders. So young people should take advantage and identify themselves with a movement to try and also find themselves sitting in that house, because that's the house for everyone. So this message is for both women and especially young people and young women.
The National Assembly of Zambia celebrates 100 years of representing the voice of the people. The National Assembly of Zambia celebrates 100 years of representing the voice of the people.
I am Lieutenant Colonel Henry Muyowa, retired, a freedom fighter. I joined the freedom struggle 1959, and I'm a former MP for Shuangandu. My message is that, yes, for sure, in these 100 years, we have achieved a lot, but we still have a lot to do. That as we who are former MPs with the current MPs, we should interact and we should share issues. Based on our experience, we will be able to advise you accordingly. My fellow members of Parliament, I'm a former MP, we should be serious in scrutinizing the laws that we pass in Parliament. That the laws must be in the interest of Zambians, laws that will benefit Zambians in terms of unity and peace. And the laws should not be segregative. There are some laws at the moment, like our current constitution, which is segregative. I'm saying no, we should sit down, and the constitution must accommodate every Zambian, and every Zambian should be free to participate freely in all issues pertaining to Zambia based on the Zambian laws.
My name is John Alan Sandwe, freedom fighter. I am happy to know that our Parliament has reached 100 years. So we are saying to our colleagues that happy 100 years. We pray that you will continue for love, peace and unity in the country as you proceed now after your 100 years. We wish you all the best, all the strength, all the wisdom in these years. It has not been easy to reach 100 years. It is because of your hard work, focus, and all that happen to those who work very, very hard like you.
My name is Manuel Ngambi, a former UNIP councillor. I just greet all Zambians that today we are privileged to
You can now advertise on Parliament Television and Parliament Radio. For more information, call 0977 854102 or 0977 536487. Parliament Television, bringing Parliament closer to you.
Well, thank you so much for still staying with us on Parliament Television. Business is still on the 20 minutes health break, and in a few minutes' time, business resumes. And still to come is a ministerial statement, which is expected to be rendered on the floor of the House by the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry. And this ministerial statement is on the $72 billion United States proposed investment in Zambia by Vietnam Diversified Corporation Limited, and also expect Mr. Movika Shangombo, Member of Parliament, to present a report urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport Works and Supply on the road fleet in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly. It was laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26 June 2021. This motion report is expected to be seconded by Rowan Member of Parliament, Mr. Joel Chibuye. And earlier on, we had the 45 minutes on the Vice President's question without notice, and we did see quite a number of members of Parliament posing questions. We now cross over to the floor of the House.
Mr. Speaker.
Constituted business will resume. 1/3 of members of Parliament need to be present in the House in order for business to be transacted. And so, in case you've just tuned in, we did have a special address to the House by His Excellency Mr. Filipe Jacinto Nus, President of the Republic of Mozambique. And still to come is a ministerial statement that is going to be delivered by Honorable Chupo Kamulenga, the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, on the $72 billion United States proposed investment in Zambia by Vietnam Diversified Corporation Limited.
And earlier on, Madam Speaker did make an announcement. In that announcement, she recognized the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Aumapo Academy Primary School in Siankope village in Joma district. And on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker did warmly welcome the visitors to the National Assembly of Zambia.
In the other announcement, Madam Speaker did acquaint the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of honorable ministers, honorable members of Parliament and senior government officials from the Republic of Mozambique. And so they were here to witness the address that was made by the President of Mozambique earlier on. And so as soon as the quorum is constituted, business will resume right here on Parliament Television. Of course, we'll have a report by Mr. Movika, who is the chairperson of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply. The report is actually urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on the road freight in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26th of June, 2024.
When business was suspended, the House had just concluded the Vice President's question time. Next item, I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry to make a ministerial statement.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for permitting me to deliver this ministerial statement on this issue of the Viet-Zambia Investment Corporation. Mr. Speaker, I stand here today to address you on a matter that has generated a lot of public interest and debate. This is the issue of the $72 billion proposed investment in rice production in Luapula, Northern and Muchinga provinces by the Viet-Zam Diversified Corporation Limited. I wish to take this opportunity to provide some clarifications, more information, which hopefully will put this matter to rest. Mr. Speaker, as honorable members of Parliament may be aware in this House, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry is responsible for administering policies as well as regulating activities in the trade and industrial sectors in order to enhance the sector's contribution to sustainable socio-economic growth and development for the benefit of the people of Zambia. One of the specific functions that the ministry is responsible for, as contained in the Government Gazette Notice number 1123 of the year 2021, is the investment policy. In this regard, the ministry, through the Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, which is the sole agency of government responsible for promoting and facilitating trade and investment in Zambia, receives investment proposals from a broad range of local and foreign investors. When these investment proposals are submitted, they are appraised to determine whether they can be granted investment licenses in their proposed investment and based on established investment criteria for the country. Mr. Speaker and honorable members of Parliament, the Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, received an unsolicited application by Viet-Zam Diversified Corporation Limited that offered to invest $72 billion over a period of 20 years and requested to be granted land to the extent of 6 million hectares. The investor offered to invest 12,000 United States dollars per hectare, totaling to 6 million hectares over a period of 20 years. This is what translates to the $72 billion. Further, the investor requested for a number of concessions. Among them, it included tax breaks. Mr. Speaker, in view of the significance of the proposal, it was necessary for ZDA to consult key stakeholders. In this regard, Zambia Development Agency, ZDA, together with key stakeholders who included traditional leaders, namely Chief Matipa from Northern Province and Chief Chisunka from Luapula Province, to consult on matters on the 18th of June 2024. In this meeting, there are other stakeholders from government that were invited who are provincial leaders in the places of interest. I am informed that during the meeting, Mr. Speaker, it was made very clear to the investor that granting such an amount of land by government was not tenable. To this end, the investor was guided to apply for a smaller piece of land in line with the already existing farm block concept, where a domestic or foreign investor could apply for up to 20,000 hectares of land for their project. The guidance, Mr. Speaker, that was provided was not in any way an approval to grant 6 million hectares of land. Neither was it granted. Mr. Speaker, I must emphasize here that ZDA has no legal mandate to allocate land of any size, let alone the purported 6 million hectares that we are talking about. It was a proposal to which a final conclusion has not been reached, Mr. Speaker. There is no agreement that has been signed, neither has government approved any of the other requests that the company was making. Government is well aware of the risks associated with allocating such huge tracts of land to a single investor, and hence the guidance to the investor to consider applying for a parcel of land, small parcel of land. I wish to reiterate that there was no pronouncement on the part of government to confirm such an allocation of such a huge tract of land or any amount of land for that matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude my statement, I wish to indicate there has been increased interest to invest in Zambia from both the local and foreign investors. Consequently, we have been receiving a lot of investment requests, and our role through the Zambia Development Agency, which is an act of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, is to receive these proposals and assess their sustainability and viability for the good of the now and future generations. I wish to assure you, honorable members of Parliament, that it were necessary, we request other government, it is always necessary to request other government agencies to conduct due diligence on proposed investment. Mr. Speaker, I wish to state as follows. Number one, the $72 billion was a mere proposal and no agreement has been signed. Number two, there is no land that has been allocated to the investor, and neither has government approved any of the requests that the investor was making, such as tax breaks, lease fees, waivers, and citizenship. All these, Mr. Speaker, have got rules and statutes that govern them in which to be done. However, when an investor makes a proposal, we absorb it, take it for your digestion and submission to the relevant offices and ministries. I wish to seize this opportunity to express our gratitude to the public for the feedback that we have received on this matter. This shows the importance we attach to our valuable resources, in this particular, our land. I wish to assure the public that as we promote investment, we remain guided by the laws of the land. Mr. Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
And thank you, Honorable Minister, for
the Honorable order.
(2)E of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, read together with Article 72(5) of the Republican Constitution. And for avoidance of doubt, I quote, Mr. Speaker, at 2, that is Article 72, Sub-Article 2, the office of Member of Parliament becomes vacant if the member at E is expelled from the political party which sponsored the member for election to the National Assembly. And at Article 72(5), it states, where a member of Parliament is expelled as provided in clause 2E, the member shall not lose a seat until the expulsion is confirmed by the court, except that where the member does not challenge the expulsion in court, the member shall vacate the seat in the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, on or about the 6th of December 2023, the Patriotic Front leadership, through their Secretary General, communicated the expulsion of 9 members of Parliament of the Patriotic Front to the National Assembly of Zambia, which prompted the 9 members of Parliament to take out the legal action in a matter of Honorable Ronald Chitotela and 8 others, namely Honorable Nixon Chirangwa, Honorable Musonda Pakata, Honorable Christopher Kangombe, Honorable Remember Mutali, Honorable Brian Munduvire, Honorable Stephen Kampyongo, Honorable Mulenga Fube, and Honorable Mutotwe Kafwaya. This was against the respondents, the first respondent.
Honorable Member, Honorable Msonda, you've just come in and you are trying to cause mayhem on the floor of the House. May the Honorable Minister continue.
The respondents, the first respondent being Mr. Miles Walia-Sampa, the second respondent, Mr. Miles Walia-Sampa, President, PF, Mr. Morgan Ngona, Secretary General, and the Attorney General for the Republic of Zambia. Mr. Speaker, I rise on a very serious matter in the following terms, that Mr. Speaker, from about December 6th, when the expulsion was communicated about these 9 members of Parliament, there has been no subsisting legal process or action challenging the expulsion of the said 9 members before any competent court of jurisdiction within Zambia or elsewhere. And that, Mr. Speaker, there has been no injunction from that date to date restraining the execution or efficacy of such expulsion. Further, Mr. Speaker, there has been no stay so that the implications of the expulsions may not take effect. And to that effect, Mr. Speaker, I seek your guidance whether the honorable members of Parliament in issue are in order to join us in this House. Whether they are in order to join us in this House and partake of the business of this House, Mr. Speaker, in light of the provisions of the articles that I have brought before this House. Mr. Speaker, the people of Zambia would like to know whether they are in order to remain in this House, given the provisions of the law to which we also to defend, particularly the Constitution. I seek your serious ruling, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
Honorable Member Fonkana, leave the House. Yes, Honorable Minister, I've heard you, but let me reserve my ruling and study the matter extensively. I hope to get to the House in due course to lend my ruling to this serious matter before the floor of the House. I thank you. May the Honorable Minister proceed. The Honorable Member who was asking, the Honorable Member from Pika.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity given to me to ask a follow-up question. And thank you, Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Honorable Mulenga Chipoka, for that well-delivered statement. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister has stated that government agencies usually do due diligence on the investors.
The Honorable Member Fonkana, you are still here?
That want.
Huh?
You had asked me to go and I've come back.
No.
That's a rule, sir.
You come back next week on Tuesday, Wednesday.
You didn't say that. You didn't say that.
You come back on Wednesday. Your conduct is quite unhonorable. You've been reprimanded severally to avoid debating while seated and making unnecessary utterances. No, I'll add more. I can add more flavor to that. I can add more flavor to that. If you want to make this house ungovernable, you will not succeed because it has rules. Because it has rules. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister due diligence that are approaching and other government agencies for investment proposals. I want to find out from the Minister of Commerce, did the various government agencies, particularly security wings, do a thorough due diligence on the Vietnam investor, and also to ascertain where the 72 billion US dollars is happening, so that the government is not made to be dealing with a scammer. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Indeed, due diligence is done by different government agencies. And security, no wonder they are called security agencies. Mr. Speaker, it's a preserve of His Excellency and the ministers assigned to deal with security matters which are not usually brought to the public domain. So allow me to hold myself back discussing on security agencies. But on the aspect of the certainty of the $72 billion, Mr. Speaker, I want to say something that the House must understand. $72 billion, even $1 billion, if it was brought today, can never be absorbed. And it is the more reason why, even in my statement, it was phrased in a period of 20 years, as opposed to a single disbursement of $72 billion. Mr. Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, a few days ago, and I think in the past 1 week or so, we've seen a lot of drama, and the opposition were having a field day talking about this matter which you have just come to clarify. What advice would you give to those people who just like putting up headlines, and yet the detail is in what you have just said? I need you to clarify this, because it is a matter that has caused debate and unnecessary debate. And yet we have details which you have just given. Could you give some advice so that our colleagues next time should first of all look at the detail of the matter before they can actually escalate the debate to the level of wasting our time in the country? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you to the Honorable Member for Zambezi East. And Mr. Speaker, before I even proceed to respond to the question, allow me to do something that I forgot to welcome our children who have come. The Honorable Member for Zambezi East has said something that is very important. irrespective of who's bringing it, local and foreign investors. This government, Mr. Speaker, has set it very clear, including the head. The President barely a month ago even threatened to revoke licenses in Northwestern Province of lands that have been given in excess of 5 to 6 or 20,000 hectares without even being put to productivity. Mr. Speaker, in the past, Mr. Speaker, there was no transparency in how land apportioning, investor absorption was being done. Because now it is being done in this country and the public is aware from the point of discussion, and there they want to generate political mischief that may mislead even the public in what is happening. Mr. Speaker, I want to even cite an example what happened in the constituency for the Honorable Member, Honorable Kapianga, where in the year 2014, Honorable Members, land was apportioned to the same so-called investors without chiefs consulted, the residents consulted, and people were just displaced. Land which belongs to the people and the polling station and other government facilities there are in. This is a place, Mr. Speaker, now the new Dawn government wants to correct and get the land back to the people that have it. It's the more reason why, Mr. Speaker, that even now there is transparency. Even from inception, we are involving chiefs, we are involving stakeholders, we are involving the residents so that the public can debate and a good decision can be made out of it. So I just want to lobby members of parliament in this house and the political players outside there. Let us not be in the habit of misleading people even when you know there is consultation and discussions at play. Mr. Speaker, this government will continue to be responsible in how we administer on the affairs of national concern. I submit.
The Honourable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and the Honourable Minister, thank you very much for the response. Indeed, this was a very, very contentious matter, Honourable Minister, and clearly in your response, I'm sure the matter should be put to bed now. But Honourable Minister, during Kaunda days, what happened, Kaunda would have called it as Kachepa, meaning people who mongers lies, or not, I withdraw the term lies, who mongers untruths. Now, going forward, Honourable Minister, realizing from what has happened on this matter, which has actually sunk in so many Zambians, some are believing up to now, what are the lessons that you have learned as a ministry that going forward, before it is too late, you must correct such an impression? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Honourable Member for Luansha. Now, for Ron constituency, Honourable George Chiwuya. Mr. Speaker, number one, there should be a moral aspect in we the political players, how we communicate to the people out there. Because of wanting to make political relevance and expediency, we choose even to demystify or to say wrong things from the right things that are happening, just to raise alarm and discontent within the public. So morality within ourselves MPs, morality within the opposition, morality within the ruling and the independents, Mr. Speaker, must prevail. It is that more reason why, Mr. Speaker, you are sending people out of parliament for being mischievous in the house of law that requires some certain conduct which should be upheld with respect. Mr. Speaker, it is such conduct, Mr. Speaker, that should be put within ourselves and be responsible as citizens above being political, expeditious, angry. Mr. Speaker, now responding to the question of the Member of Parliament on what we should do as a ministry, we should clarify and continue engaging the public, and we will do this now on radio programs in different languages where the people should believe that the people that escalated and brought that thing, the Zambian government is not auctioning a country, and we are merely receiving submissions in consultation with the chiefs. They are liars, they are rumor, they are liars. Niba puti, they are rumor mongers. Niba kachepa, these are inherent liars, Mr. Speaker, who never repent. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
The Honourable Member for Bwanamkubwa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for comments, for your ministerial statement, just to enlighten the people of Zambia on what has been happening. Mr. Speaker, foreign direct investment, we need it. And Honorable Minister, we need that so much. How I wish it was even $100 million, or is it 100 billion from 72, so that Zambian people can be employed and also have what to do. But my question, Honorable Minister, is that has the ministry, you've said this investment is earmarked for 20 years, it's a proposal, we understand, but has the ministry done a due diligence? Have they checked on the aforesaid investor, the source of funds, and all that, so that you can see how you can trench it so that we can also benefit from that investment? Because land we always have, but we need development and investment. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the rumor went like wildfire just at a consultative stage, even long before the submission could come to the ministry. Mr. Speaker, we have yet to receive this to the ministry, the proposals and submissions, but just at consultative process, it is where the rumor went out as wildfire. But definitely, when this reaches the ministry, due diligence will be done, consultations will be done within ourselves, other stakeholder ministries, and cabinet will be informed. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
The Honourable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Honourable Minister, for the statement that you issued, because it has clarified the issue. But, Honourable Minister, just by looking at the nature of the proposal...
Order, Honourable Member for Chinsali, there's a point of order.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very important point of order. Used away with using the language without interpreting on the floor. Mr. Speaker,
You've risen on to say what has been breached.
First one to say Standing Order 71.
Yes, you state what has been breached.
That the information we bring on the table must be factual and verifiable. In responding to the follow-up questions, the Honourable Minister is stating that those who are speaking to this investment are liars and innuendos. Now, here with me is a copy of Daily Mail of the 19th June 2024. Headline, front page, 72 billion investment. Vietnamese seek to invest in the high-tech agriculture eco-tourism projects. National newspaper. Why would the minister opt to insinuate that those who have lamented on this matter have been liars, when his government, through the Minister of Information, who has opted to come and politic today over matters that doesn't concern government.
Honourable Member, you are a senior member of this House, and you know our rules, we don't debate ourselves.
Well guided, Mr. Speaker. But the Honourable Minister...
just be precise. A point of order must be precise to the point.
The point of order, Mr. Speaker.
For it to be admissible.
I've made reference to the Daily Mail tabloid of 19th June, which had a screaming headline about these $72 billion. I will lay it on the table. That's not your job. So was the minister in order to try and allege that all those who have commented on this matter have been liars and they've been peddling rumors, when his government has reported this matter to the nation? Was he in order to take that trajectory in terms of referring to those who have raised concerns, including our chiefs, who were not consulted regarding this bogus investment. I take your serious ruling.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Minister, Honorable Member, is assigned to preside over a ministry, and he has stated his official position. And as such, all of us in the House have to adhere to what he has said, because that's government position. May the Honorable Member for Chinsali proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Minister, I wanted to ask you, just by looking at the proposal by Vietnam, where they requested that, or where they applied that they should be given 6 million hectares of land in Zambia, did ZDA have to wait, honestly and truly, to go and consult the stakeholders before they can guide Vietnam that they cannot get 6 million and they can only get 20,000 hectares? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Before I respond to the good question coming from the Honorable Member, I need to state and emphasize on one point. Indeed, they lied. Mr. Speaker, they are pronouncing that ZDA is claiming for a refund from Vietnam, and they've tabulated figures on social media and everywhere. ZDA is not claiming any refund from anywhere. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Member, Senior Member, Honorable Kampiongo, he wants to draw me and the chiefs into this discussion. I never at any one point alleged to my chiefs in the manner that you have alleged. I alleged in my statement they were part of a consultative meeting, Mr. Speaker. And if he wants to draw the chiefs in a derogatory manner, which he chooses, I will leave it up to him. It's his preserve. I respect and honor my chiefs. Mr. Speaker, indeed, there is a letter purported to have been drawn from somewhere. Mr. Speaker, it's unverified, and we cannot comment on it. But truth be told, lies have been peddled that government has sold land. Government has signed leases in excess of 6 million. Mr. Speaker, we have not done that. It has not even reached cabinet, even the ministry. It only was being looked at by a statutory body, which is also an act of parliament. If there is opposition political leaders who allege that government has auctioned land, then they are the first ones who have auctioned it, because the body is an act of parliament. And Mr. Speaker, the same auctioning of land that they are talking about, it was done in the constituency of my young brother, Honorable Kapianga, in the year 2014, and this government is going to reverse that and give it to the people where it belongs. Mr. Speaker, allow me now to answer the question by the Honorable Member, Honorable for Chinsali. He says, his question, Mr. Speaker, did ZDA have to wait to consult the chiefs, consult the stakeholders? Yes, Mr. Speaker. ZDA is a body that is mandated to conduct stakeholder engagement. Their chiefs needed to know what needs to be happening in their place. And I need to state this, Mr. Speaker. We have seen in the recent times where, including the members of parliament in this house who hail from Muchinga, who hail from Mumpika, who hail from Luapula, are calling for more agricultural improvement in their areas. And ZDA and other agencies want to get development into those areas. Anomalies may be picked at one point, but definitely the vision of this government is to make sure that we provide development in that area. If we are going to provide rice production, if we are going to provide maize production in Muchinga, in Northern, in Luapula, there is nothing wrong in it. And that is why the ministers and the ZDA official that was in that meeting guided. We cannot give you a colossal amount of land, get it in pieces. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity. Through you, Mr. Speaker, I would like to find out from the Honorable Minister on the floor, as you were, Honorable Nkandu. Mr. Speaker, there was a high-powered delegation that met to discuss this issue, where ZDA senior representatives attended that meeting, the minister in charge of Rapura province and the minister in charge of Northern province. The minister in charge of Rapura called this project a great project. And the one from Northern province said a life-changing project. Honorable Minister would like to find out from you whether this was a consultative meeting or it was a meeting where government officials were promoting the giving away or selling of land to a foreign investor, because their tone sounded like they were promoting and encouraging other than just consulting. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Mr. Speaker, I like it when the Member of Parliament for Kasenengwa says their tone sounded. In his assumption, Mr. Speaker, he wants to take it like they were implementing. Mr. Speaker, it was a consultative meeting. Mr. Speaker, it's about from the angle you want to choose to see things. If you sit in the opposition and you want to find anything wrong in the government, you will find it. But Mr. Speaker, this government remains committed to consultative engagements. It is the more reason why this president is doing what has never been done before, providing public-private dialogue forums. Mr. Speaker, if there was a public-private dialogue forum before, my people in Mpika, where Mpika Central is for my young brother and honorable member Kapianga, that land could not have been auctioned at the expense of the people. But now today we bring private public engagements where chiefs who are custodians of the land on behalf of the Zambian public, where ministers who are provincial leaders are brought together, as well as the private, to dialogue and debate. The public are even able to see and make pronouncements and decisions based on what they think. So, Mr. Speaker, there was no implementation. It was a consultative meeting to which I also invite the member in other meetings to participate. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
The Honourable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Minister, just make me understand, or can I, maybe the nation know, how much money this Zamvet investor has invested in Zambia as of today, because it has been in the country for a while. As if you open the ZAM portal today, Minister of Mines portal, you find that we've already given him an exploration license up to 6,105 hectares for exploration, which is not bad, it's fine. But how much money has he invested as of today in the country? Because he hasn't been here today, he has been here for the last, if I'm not mistaken, 2 years now. How much money has he invested in the country? Thank you.
I don't know whether the Honourable Minister can comment, but it's a question that is quite off the ministerial statement. But
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And indeed, like the Honourable Member for Nyimba said, he is not a new investor, he's been around. Mr. Speaker, I wish to state that I will be very academic if I will know the actual amounts of more than 1,000 investors we have in Zambia, individual investment in their respective portfolios. But with that information, Mr. Speaker, we'll provide to the Member of Parliament through the Zambia Development Agency in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance and Mines. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Honourable Member for Mbawala.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you so much, Honourable Minister, for that very important statement. Very elaborate, clarifying from all what the doomsayers had been lying to this country. So we are very happy to get that statement. Honourable Minister, the investment since the New Dawn government came into power through ZEA is at its highest ever. Could you explain how chiefdoms, maybe those who are interested in development, could actually benefit from this very high level of investment that we are seeing in the country by virtue of maybe a map of investment opportunities in various chiefdoms, which would make it easier for investors to move to areas of interest where a certain chiefdom is interested in a certain type of development, to make it easier for our chiefdoms to create industries. For example, in Mbabara, we are interested in various industries for our people, and we would like to attract investment in that direction. And it becomes easier for those investors who want to set up industries to come to Mbabara and be able to invest and work with us in partnership to bring about development to the country. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Honorable Member from Mbabala constituency. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, chiefdoms must benefit from investments that go into their respective chiefdoms. And benefits, Mr. Speaker, come in various ways. Benefits come with infrastructure development, where the people that reside in get to benefit. The employment benefits, among many others. As long as, Mr. Speaker, the new Dawn government is in office, and we hope it becomes a policy going forward, even many years after we have served, that every chiefdom should be a part of the governance system in a responsible manner from the consultative point going forward. It is from consultation, Honourable Member, where chiefdoms state where they strongly believe the gain for their people lies. And that is what we have started doing, as opposed to just moving in and doing things without engagement with the chiefdoms and other people. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
The Honourable Member for Chiengi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving the good people of Chiengi to ask the Minister on this very important ministerial statement. Honorable Minister, I've been listening and following your responses, and I'm very much aware that there's a statement issued by LPCC, that's Luapula Province Chiefs Council, which had a chat with the same investor, and they've outlined their dissatisfactions according to the demands that this investor was making. And when you read that document, it's in a public domain. It's clearly showing that this investor wanted to be growing rice in Luapula and to be the sole grower of rice. I'm just picking some of the few things. And looking at the documents that he has, is for the mining and not for agricultural purposes. And whenever an investor comes into our country, according to the immigration laws, what they are coming to do is what they should stick by. So I want to find out on behalf of the good people of Luapula, because I want to find out, since you are saying there was due diligence which was done, this investor wants to invest 72 billion when it comes from a country which has a GDP of 406 billion, and the billionaire who is there in Vietnam is of 4 billion. So I want to know what made even the government to entertain this investor and to send this investor to the chiefs and the people of Luapula who rejected his conditions, because they had a one-on-one meeting with him and they rejected his demands. I want to know as to why the government would send someone who has even confessed he has never done such kind of a project.
Honourable Member, be precise, be precise.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Because the minister was saying over a period of 20 years. This Vietnamese, he didn't say over the period of 20 years. So I want to know as to why the government would want to do such a thing to the people of Luapula. Why would they send someone who has never even done any kind of investment as such? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I think we should hear attention to ministerial statements, because I think he stated in the statement that it was a consultative process. So let's call upon another member, Honourable Member for Mwense.
Honourable Minister,
In your statement, you did allude to the fact that there was stakeholder engagement and consultation. And as you are aware, we as honorable members of parliament, we are a key stakeholder in government decision, even when it comes to investment. So at what stage in terms of the structured consultation process and engagement were you going to involve your colleagues as honorable members of parliament so that probably even this misinformation, if any, which has gone around, maybe probably your honorable colleagues would have helped you? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the Honorable Member from Wense for a very good question of concern at what point members of Parliament were going to be engaged. But Mr. Speaker, before I even respond to the Member of Parliament from Wense, I think it is important, like you have guided, where members of Parliament pay particular attention. A classic example is like what has been displayed by the Honorable Member from Chienge. Mr. Speaker, honestly, she has outlined issues that I need to clarify because the public was listening to her when she spoke. And it is important I address that the public understands that what she's talking about is not as it was said. Mr. Speaker, no government has issued 6 million hectares of land. I insist. And no government has done any harm to the people of Luapula. She talks about us bringing this one to be the sole trader in rice production. Mr. Speaker, my ministry is responsible for Consumer Protection Commission. Monopoly in business we do not support in this country. The President is on record talking about partnerships and joint ventures in this country. If the opposition or the political pundits that talked about it allowed it to mature to ministerial or executive decision, monopolistic business conduct is not what we support in this country. We are targeting for partnerships and joint ventures. So they have just made this thing to die before it even arrives to a point where engagement, now bringing it to the members of parliament and other stakeholders, should have been done. Now quickly, Honourable Member from Mwense, responding to your good question, indeed, stakeholder engagement is key. This was just at its inception, and many of the things that have been were outlined in this particular document, they were going to need parliamentary oversight if they were going to be implemented. Before or at that stage, Member of Parliament, it should have been brought to your cause. But many other things, Mr. Member of Parliament, you will be informed as we dialogue together. Mr. Speaker, I rest.
Honourable Member for Kanchiwia.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. Honourable Minister, let me thank you for your statement. For the people of Kanchiwia, I think there's one or two issues that we must be dealing with as a nation. Number one, we understand that land is very important, both economically and politically. With that said, Honourable Minister, what does that speak for us vis-a-vis recasting our land policy, as the case would be? In the words of former and late President Michael Sata, he would say, God is no longer in the business of creating land. What are we going to do going forward in our quest to attract investment? What are we doing to ensure that we preserve and protect this much needed resource? Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
The Honourable Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's the more reason why the head of state continues to advocate for partnerships and joint ventures between foreign investors and local investors. Mr. Speaker, allow me to inform the House on the scale of land we have, which is arable, and that which is being accessed, to give you comfort and also to be an agent of investment in this country. Mr. Speaker, we have arable land in Zambia, which is about 45 million hectares. And the only that is being used totally right now is only 7.6 million hectares. 7.6 million hectares of land is being used in Zambia for agriculture. 45 out of 45 million hectares of land. So we've got enough land to subject in a responsible way to farming in this country. So let us advocate for more partnerships and investment in the agricultural sector in this country. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Notice of motion, the Honourable Member of Shangombo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this House do adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, works and supply on the road freight transport in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on 26 June 2024.
Is the motion seconded?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Ron. The question is that this House adopts a report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on the road flight in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26th June 2024. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Shangombo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with the terms of reference as provided for in the standing orders, the committee undertook a study on the road freight in Zambia. Mr. Speaker, during its study tour, the committee interacted with various stakeholders who tendered both oral and written submissions. The committee also undertook a foreign tour to Tanzania. As I am aware that members have perused through the report, I will only highlight a few issues that were raised by stakeholders during the deliberations. Mr. Speaker, of great concern to the committee is that despite Zambia having more local than foreign freight operators, local road freight transport operators account for less than 30% of the market share, while foreign transporters account for 70%. This is in stark contrast to the statutory instrument number 35 of 2021, which provides that 50% of Zambian regional transportation of cargo is hauled by local freight operators. For instance, most of the off-takers for copper mined in Zambia prefer to use foreign transporters through backloads at commercial and favorable prices for local transporters, thereby ignoring the statutory instrument. The committee therefore recommends that the executive should put in place strict monitoring mechanisms that will ensure that the provisions in the statutory instrument number 35 of 2021 are strictly adhered to. This will ensure that 50% of the market share is held by local Zambian freight transport operators. Mr. Speaker, the committee also observes with concern that some freight companies and trucks in Zambia are foreign-owned, despite being registered as Zambian. This has been exacerbated by the fact that financially sound foreign nationals front Zambians and present them as directors and shareholders when in fact not. This state of affairs has been compounded by lack of capital and weak monitoring mechanisms to enable local transporters compete favorably with foreign transporters. In view of this, the committee recommends that businesses registered in Zambia as freight firms in Zambia be subject to strict nationality verification by the Patents and Companies Registration Agency, PACRA, as this practice is crowding out Zambians from the industry. Further, this should also be in line with the provisions under paragraph 4 of the Citizens Economic Empowerment Regulations, statutory instrument number 1 of 2017, which provides that 50% of road freight transportation of cargo is reserved for Zambian transporters. Further, Mr. Speaker, the committee observes that among the reasons local freight transporters face a lot of challenges in terms of competition is due to the weak monitoring of investment pledges and inadequate of capital, which ultimately stifle local freight transporters from being competitive. As a result, foreign investors enter unlisted business lines such as road freight transport. The committee therefore recommends that the Zambia Development Agency establishes a systematic procedure for monitoring freight investment pledges through periodic reviews using a digital platform. This will protect local enterprises, particularly those in the road freight industry, from being crowded out by financially sound investors who deviate from their initial investment pledges and plans. Mr. Speaker, the committee notes that there is a lot of road warping and traffic checkpoints in Zambia, which interferes with the free flow of vehicles, which ultimately increase the cost of doing business for road freight operators, as well as costs related to road repairs by the government. The committee therefore recommends that the government takes measures to enforce traffic checkpoints with concrete structures and parking spaces along selected roads to ensure smooth movement of goods. It also recommends that enforcement entities like the Zambia National Service, the Zambia Police, the Road Transport and Safety Agency, and the councils have one roadblock instead of each having its own checkpoint. The case in point was in Chinsali, where we found 4 checkpoints in a space of about 3 kilometers. The committee recommends the use of manned patrols and smart cameras to monitor traffic violations to avoid road dilapidations caused by checkpoints. As I end, Mr. Speaker, I wish to pay tribute on behalf of the committee to all the stakeholders who tendered both oral and written submissions to it. I also wish to thank you, Mr. Speaker, and the Clerk of the National Assembly for the guidance and support services accorded to the committee throughout its deliberations. Mr. Speaker, I beg to move.
Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Of course. Now, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion that has been ably moved by the committee chairperson in the manner that he has articulated and elaborated the matters. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, just to add a few pertinent issues to add on what the committee chairperson has actually reported to the House. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by stating that the committee, in its interaction, and especially when it went on the local tours, we did tour the border facilities, and that is Nakonde and Kasumbalesa. Mr. Speaker, the committee were amazed by the kind of porousness that was found at the two borders, and that is Nakonde and Kasumbalesa. Kasumbalesa, Mr. Speaker, it was worse in the sense that the ZRA land, which is on title, is actually got some more people who have also obtained titles on the same land. And this was surprising and amazing to your committee, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is actually giving a lot of challenges to the institutions such as ZRA and police officers to try and man these porous borders, and as such, they are so overwhelmed. Mr. Speaker, your committee therefore recommended that border security is tightened and more officers deployed to avoid the current porous state of the border. The second issue that, Mr. Speaker, I want to talk on is the inadequate station interest. Mr. Speaker, especially at Nakonde Tunduma border, your committee was there when there was a lot of load shedding. And the committee was informed that a lot of interest as of today is being spent, Mr. Speaker, on acquiring diesel to ensure that the generators are running adequately and efficiently, not to disturb the operations of ZRA. Mr. Speaker, your committee is therefore recommending that the interest allocation be increased to cater for the added cost of load management. Mr. Speaker, the other issue that I want to speak to is the absence of a cargo and logistic agency at the border. The committee, Mr. Speaker, observes that there is no established freight logistics agency which will act as a hub for local freight operators in Zambia in order to consolidate haulage of cargo by local importers and to reduce empty miles. That is to mean that the transporters must always be loaded as they are traversing the corridors. Mr. Speaker, in view of this, and taking into consideration the projected increase in copper production from 760,000 metric tons to 3 million metric tons by the year 2030, the committee recommends that the government puts in place legislation to establish an agency as well as expand the mandate of the Zambia Cargo and Logistics Limited, ZamCargo. Mr. Speaker, this is because ZamCargo is well owned by the government and can be used as a hub in backlogs for Zambian truck owners. There are no backlogs, as the chairperson of the committee has elaborated, for the truckers from Zambia who traverse the corridors, especially to Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Mr. Speaker, the last point that I want to talk on is the poor communication system at the borders. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that the absence of an effective communication system makes it very difficult for most local freight owners to have access to established ICT system that can actually connect them to off-takers based within or outside of Africa. This has made it difficult for local freight operators to find meaningful business opportunities. Mr. Speaker, ICT is very important for local operators so that they can be accessing off-takers from outside the country. Mr. Speaker, in view of the above, your committee recommends that an e-platform should be established with technical support from the Smart Zambia Institute, where all exporters of bulk goods originating from Zambia should be linked to the platform and monitored the 50%, as the chairperson has alluded to adhere of the total copper exported and other bulk goods by local freight operators. Mr. Speaker, I want to sincerely thank you for according me an opportunity to second the motion, and I beg to move.
Thank you. Any further debate? The Honourable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I support this very, very important report, and I agree, and I'm happy for the first time that the committee spoke to the relevant people who are in this business. Mr. Speaker, this country, some of us were so patriotic to the country, and we want the best for this country. Today, this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, some time back, the seniors will agree with me that they passed a law to create a Chartered Institute of Logistics, which in the follow-up was supposed to have created a Chartered Institute or transporters trade police in this sector, which you haven't done up to today. As a result, Mr. Speaker, this country loses colossal sums of money year in, year out. Mr. Speaker, you may wish to know that in this transport business today, a truck from Tanzania, or road from Tanzania, road in Zambia, road back to Tanzania, and we don't have a truck from Zambia which will go to Tanzania and road in Tanzania back here. So we've got a 2,000 wasted mileage on a tracker. And this causes our transporters to increase prices. At the end of the day, your people on the right, Mr. Speaker, they will say the Zambian transporters are expensive and we can't hire them because we've never looked at this. We've never come up with a policy in this sector. This is a sector which we've neglected, and countries like Tanzania, if you Google today where you are seated, your members on your right where they're seated, they will see how much contribution towards to GDP of Tanzania, how much this sector contributes. And if you look at our country today, this sector practically contributes zero. The reason we haven't come up with a policy as lawmakers to see to it that we encourage our locals Mr. Speaker, our truckers in Zambia, in Southern Africa today, especially those who are in fuel, they can boast that their truckers are second to South African truckers. But you may wish to know that the way we are working as a country, we don't get them because we consider them expensive and the Zimbabweans ones or Mozambicans ones cheaper. The reason is that we don't have a policy on this sector. And why? It's a challenge to the Ministry of Transport and Logistics. Why is seated there? And this thing was proposed many years ago that we should have a policy. By today, we're supposed to have a policy to encourage these people. Mr. Speaker, this is a country where we've allowed, we have a law for cabotage. We've allowed this, our people, our other countries, getting soybeans, maize within Zambia and offroad within Zambia by a foreign company. And you may wish to know, Mr. Speaker, that a Zambian truck can load that, a Tanzanian truck can load that Mkushi, offroad that Nakonde, and the police, the LATSA, they will do nothing about it because the whole system, the whole route is corrupted. And we need to work on this thing so that we start giving value to our transporters. If we give them value, these are the people who are going to contribute in taxes. They are going to buy more tires. They are going to buy more spares. At the end of the day, we are creating employment. This is the only country where we create employment for other countries. This should come to an end. We cannot keep on bringing in other truckers in the country when your own truckers, Mr. Speaker, are seated, the truckers are packed in this country, and other people are the ones who are transporting. So my prayer to the Ministry of Transport and Logistics is that let's analyze the report and respect and pick what we can pick from this report, which are progressive to the country. It is going to look very bad, Mr. Speaker, for us as a country to keep on promoting foreign truckers. People have come in this country, the so-called multi-billion transporters, because they have seen a loophole in our sector for logistics, and because of that, a company will just rent a room at a certain hotel or a certain building and deprive the Zambians, transporters who are genuinely contributing. You cannot bring somebody who's got workshops in Zimbabwe, workshop in South Africa, workshop in Mozambique, and you want to compare him to the person who is in Zambia, who has employed the Zambians, paying Zambians. And this guy, everything is done in South Africa, and you want to compete, and you don't. I wonder what happens with us, Mr. Speaker, when we get positions. It's my prayer, the people on your right, when they sit, they should lead through this thing, get the people from this committee or the chairman of this committee and brief them what really transpired. We need to get the Ministry of Transport and Logistics, LATSA, who have been very porous. If there is an institution today which is killing Zambian transporters, number one is LATSA. They are bringing in people who are not even capable than Zambians. And these are the people who are killing our sector and who are seated. And Tanzania, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, they have seen that the Zambian government does nothing on this. We are blank about this sector. And they have really hammered us. And if you look at ZDA today, they are bringing somebody. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, this pains me a lot because if you look at the money we are spending, we are wasting as a country. It's just too much. Thank you so much. I end up here.
The Honourable Member for Shuangando.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also make a few contributions on this motion, ably moved by the Honourable MP for Shangombo. But, Mr. Speaker, I'm constrained because even as I'm about to debate, the House is sitting in breach of Standing Order 236, which requires that we should have 1/3 of members at any given meeting. We are far below that requirement, Mr. Speaker. As I speak to you, the quorum has collapsed. So I seek your indulgence before I can go into my discourse on that very serious breach.
From my side, Honorable Member, the clerks on the table haven't yet indicated. So as far as I stand, as far as I sit here, I'm yet to. So I'll wait for the clerks at the table to indicate. But meanwhile, you can proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the motion moved by the Honorable Member for Shangombo is a very interesting one. And I think what has caught my attention in their report is that their rationale for undertaking that study tour to look into the issues of transport and logistics was the reason they've cited in their report. Mr. Speaker, in their report, they are stating that despite the high demand for road transport, the sector was largely dominated by foreign operators due to the significant capital outlay requirement to invest in this subsector. Road and freight transport costs in Zambia were high, potentially adding up to 40% of the final cost of products, negatively affecting price levels and the competitive position of Zambian products in the international markets. And they further state that Zambian transport and logistics enterprises had limited capacities to deliver high quality and low cost services, which were essential for transforming the country into a regional transportation hub.
Order. We are down by 2 members or so. I request that the bells be rung and the whips do your jobs to ensure that we have the...
We can't see the whips.
Oh, thank you so much for still being with us on Parliament Television. Business has been suspended. It is a requirement that 1/3 of the total number of members of Parliament be present in the House for any business to be considered on the floor of the House. So business has been suspended, and the Second Deputy Speaker has ordered the bells to be rung and instructed the whips to make sure that members of Parliament are in the chamber of business to resume. At the moment, at the time business was interrupted, the House was considering a report which was presented by Mr. Movika, who is Shangombo, Member of Parliament, and is he a chairperson of the Committee on Transport Works and Supply, urging the House to adopt a report of the Committee on Transport Works and Supply on the road fleet in Zambia for the 3rd session of the 13th National Assembly. This document was laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 26th June 2024, and it was Ron Member of Parliament, Mr. George Weir, who seconded this motion. And at the time business was interrupted, it was Mr. Stephen Kampyongo Shwangandu, Member of Parliament, who was on the floor of the House debating. So once the quorum is constituted, the member will continue debating. And earlier on, the House did consider a ministerial statement which was rendered on the floor of the House by the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry on the 72 billion proposed investment in Zambia by Viet Zambia Diversified Corporation Limited. We did see quite a number of members of Parliament asking follow-up questions to the Minister, seeking clarity from the ministerial statement that he presented. And earlier in the day, there was a special address to the House by His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto Nunes, President of the Republic of Mozambique, who addressed Parliament. So once the quorum is constituted, business resumes. Keep watching Parliament television, and we'll leave you with those live pictures.
May the honorable member proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Reluctantly, because my flow of debate has been disturbed, but I'll proceed because government my tired. So, Mr. Speaker, what I was looking at the background of what necessitated the committee to undertake this tour and come up with this report. And what they've shown in this report is the fact that our transporting subsector is not competitive in the region. And what that simply means, Mr. Speaker, is that we are pressing caveats on this subsector to grow. And so there is need for government to come up with deliberate policies in order to support this transport subsector. Innovations such as the one that happened in the transporting of lubricants, where you locked a certain percentage for the local transporters, could be one of the measures to help stimulate growth in this subsector. Mr. Speaker, when you have got a situation like that, you find that our men and women, and mostly men that traverse the country and the region, day and night, the drivers, who are the wheels of the economy, cannot be remunerated properly, and they are always stressed, and in the end, you can't control the road carnage that you have been witnessing. Like the Honorable MP for my Honorable colleague who spoke earlier, Nyemba, did mention that in creating the environment conducive for these transporters, there's a lot that we need to do. What are the costs? If you look at RTSA, for example, that are being charged on these transporters. How can we mitigate some of those costs? Because they have to buy spares, they have to make sure that their motor vehicles are roadworthy. If the cost of spares is very high, it becomes very difficult. And worse still, if the kwacha is not stable, it's even worse. So all these factors, Mr. Speaker, need to be holistically looked at in order to have a viable transport subsector. We have seen lorries moving on our roads, tippers carrying sand, carrying all sorts of goods. Who is regulating that? So we need to make sure that, Mr. Speaker, those segments of transportation that we can preserve for our indigenous citizens is preserved. Because you can't tie the hands of our local people and let the international transporters, business persons to be the ones to thrive. At the end of the day, we are just building the economies of those countries where these international transporters are coming from. Yes, there's been a challenge between the countries where we haul cargo from, the ports, Tanzania, Mozambique, but more so Tanzania. If you look at those of us who use the Great North Road for getting to our constituencies, you can even tell that most of the trucks that are coming from this side are not roadworthy, and they are posing a risk to motorists. So we can't, on one hand, allow substandard transport vessels to come into our country when our own truckers cannot access those markets in other regions. So it's important for those that are responsible for commerce, trade and industry, transport, to ensure that they create an environment and also put deliberate policies that should favor our local business enterprises, especially in the transport subsector. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I beg to support the report.
The Honorable Member for Namwala has withdrawn.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Speaker. To start with, Mr. Speaker, I want to take a position of supporting this report, which has been submitted to this House today. Going by the statistics that have been given, indeed, 70% of the trucks or transporters who use our loads, Mr. Speaker, are foreign trucks. And we have few, if at all, indeed, the 30%. To me, Mr. Speaker, coming from this sector, I would really say our local transporters, Mr. Speaker, have not been given an opportunity that would help them to actually improve or compete at an international level. And indeed, going by the report which has been given, Mr. Speaker, our transporters in this country have been treated as second-class transporters in the sense that all the contracts that are happening from the mine sector are given to international transporters, and our own are being used as subcontractors. And this has a negative impact in the sense that our own have actually no leeway, which is direct, to the mines where they could get the contracts and be able to deliver the commodities or cargo to other countries. And this, Mr. Speaker, alone has brought a minus to our transporters in the sense that, like I said, they are second class. They have no access to the mines. The other thing, Mr. Speaker, which I would want to suggest to this report is it's very important that our own transporters as well have access to loans at a reasonable rate. Because if you look at the transporters we have, Mr. Speaker, there are quite few And when you look at the financial muscle, it's not even there. So as a country, like it was said by other debaters, it's very important that we come out with deliberate policies that will allow our transporters to have access to banks to get loans at a reasonable rate. That alone will help to build our transporters to a level where they can compete with foreign transporters. Securities at the borders. Mr. Speaker, this is another issue. If we look at the security at our borders, it's quite porous. Cargo is lost, cargo goes missing, because our local transporters cannot manage to offer their own security compared to the foreign transporters. For example, if you went to Kasumbalesa today, you'll find that the foreign transporters are able to engage the security firms, which our own cannot, because financial status, which is on the negative to our own. Mr. Speaker, it's also important to indicate that our borders, particularly Kasumbalesa, we had an opportunity as government assurance to visit that border. The border where our people would operate from, Mr. Speaker, has been enclosed, and there are no beacons. We tried to search to find out where our country ends, but unfortunately the whole 2 hours, 3 hours we spent there, we could not see where our country ends because the beacons are not there. And we find that the parties from the other country, Mr. Speaker, are free to get in our country anytime they want. But the contrary is what is obtaining, that our own cannot have access to the other countries. I think that alone ought to be looked into as well, because we need to create an environment which will be conducive to everyone. If other people can walk in our country anytime they want, our transporters cannot have access to the borders or to the authorities of customs of the other country at the time that they wish. When that's going there, that alone has created a lot of problems to our local transporters. Mr. Speaker, it's also important to indicate that when you look at what is happening now in the freight industry, the local transporters are not allowed to open customs clearing agents or companies, whilst the international, when they get to borders, they have their own clearing agents formed or established in the foreign land, which again we feel is an issue that ought to be looked at. Because if our own transporters, particularly when they get to other countries, they are all compelled to use the clearing agents from other countries, but when they get here, the foreign ones, they have established their own. I think that is an issue that ought to be looked at as well, so that we can create evenness to both international and local transporters. And that will enable our own as well to make a bit of some monies, so that going forward, Mr. Speaker, we can improve the sector which has purely been dominated by the foreign. Mr. Speaker, it's also important to indicate that when you look at this same road freight industry, the cargo that is being carried, at some point, the local transporters are not allowed to carry or to uplift some of the cargoes, which they'll call them hazardous, because they say they are not qualified to do that. Now the question would be, when are we going to qualify to carry all this any type of cargo as citizens or as local transporters? Because we cannot literally depend on foreign transporters when we have as well the capacity that ought to be built, so that at the end of the day, we are able to compete evenness across board, unlike the obtaining situation. Further, Mr. Speaker, our drivers, we need to ensure that we offer security for our drivers. Our drivers, we have lost a couple of drivers, particularly in other countries, when they take a cargo, because it's a bit difficult for them to be respected or to be recognized as transporters who are supposed to be given the equal opportunity, the way we treat other transporters who get cargoes or who move cargoes across our country. The Zambian transporters, if you look at it now, the drivers, some of them, they're even scared to get into other countries because of security reasons. We actually request the minister or the ministry responsible to take into account the issue of security of our drivers as well, so that going forward, the way we treat other drivers from other countries, it should be the same opportunity or chance given also to our drivers when they go across. If this thing is going to be balanced, then Mr. Speaker will have nothing to complain about. But as it is now, things ought to be looked into at a certain level so that the security of our drivers as well can be considered. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I submit.
The Acting Minister of Transport and Logistics to respond.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, and allow me to thank the chairman of the committee for a very clear report, and also to thank the seconder. I extend my thanks to the three members who debated, except for the fact that the MP for Nyimba should have declared an interest because he's a transporter. Mr. Speaker, this matter has been attended to at the highest level by the President, His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, when in April this year he had a workshop, at which workshop all these concerns were dealt with in Ndola at Levi Manawasa Hospital, Stadium. Mr. Speaker, we have taken note of all these concerns and promised that as government we are going to attend to them.
Order, Honourable Minister of Local Government.
I beg to move.
As the time is 12:55 hours, I interrupt proceedings and debate stands adjourned. Date for resumption of debate. Order. Date for resumption of debate.
Next sequence, Mr. Speaker, for the Minister to come and wind up. Thank you.
Debate to resume on Wednesday next week.
The House
is now adjourned.
Resumes next week on Wednesday, since Tuesday will be a public holiday. Time now to look at business that has been considered on the floor of the House today, Friday, 28 June 2024. Madam Speaker did make some announcements at 9 hours when business resumed. She did recognize the presence in the public gallery of pupils and teachers from Umar Academy Primary School in Siang Kope Village, Choma District. So on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker warmly welcomed the visitors.
And Madam Speaker did also make a second announcement where she acquainted the House with the presence in the Speaker's gallery of ministers and members of Parliament and senior government officials from the Republic of South Africa. Staff from the Excellency Mr. Felipe Nyunso, President of the Republic of Mozambique's delegation to Zambia, and on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker did receive the distinguished guests and warmly welcome them to the National Assembly of Zambia.
So after those announcements, we had honored the Vice President's question time segment that gives members of Parliament an opportunity to ask her honor questions without notice. And thereafter, we did have a special address to the House by His Excellency Mr. Felipe Jacinto Nus, President of the Republic of Mozambique. And we just have some highlights present of the address by the Mozambican President.
Yes, part of the address, in his address, talking about the Mozambican President, he did pay tribute to Zambia on the continued democracy and upholding human rights. He also acknowledged the contribution that our founding father, the first Republican President, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, played in helping the southern part of Africa in attaining independence.
The Mozambican president did thank the people of Zambia for the friendship they have with Mozambique. And of course, he did talk about the cordial relations that the two countries have, and that Zambia has always been hospitable and hosted a number of countries during the liberation struggle, a gesture that the Mozambican president does appreciate. So that's just a brief of the address that was made by the Mozambican president earlier on.
And after that address by the Mozambican president, the House did consider a ministerial statement, and Madam Speaker did permit the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry to render a ministerial statement, and this ministerial statement was on the 72 billion United States dollars proposed investment in Zambia, invested by Viet Zambia Diversified Corporation Limited. And in his address he did briefly give the background and the mandate of his ministry, and this is the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. And the minister did say that the Zambia Development Agency received an unsolicited application by Viet Zambia Diversified Corporation Limited that offered to invest 72 billion United States dollars over a period of 20 years, and requested to be granted land to the extent of 6 million hectares. The investor offered to invest 12,000 United States dollars per hectare, totaling to 6 million hectares over a period of 20 years. This is what translates to 72 billion United States dollars. Further, the investor requested for a number of concessions, including tax breaks.
And so the minister did say that in view of the significance of the proposal, it was necessary for ZDA to consult key stakeholders. In this regard, ZDA brought together key stakeholders who included traditional leaders, namely Chief Matipa from Northern Province and Chief Chisunka from Mapula Province, to consult on the matter on 18th June 2024. Other key stakeholders invited to the meeting included those from within government.
The minister further informed the House that it is during the same meeting that it was made clear to the investor that granting such an amount of land by government was not tenable. To this end, the investor was guided to apply for a smaller piece of land in line with the already existing farm block concept, where a domestic or foreign investor could apply for up to 20,000 hectares of land for their project, and the guidance provided was not in any way an approval to grant 6 million hectares of land.
The minister emphasized that ZDA has no legal mandate to allocate land of any size, let alone the purported 6 million hectares. It was a proposal to which a final conclusion has not been reached, and so there is no agreement that has been signed. Neither has government approved any of the requests that the company was making, and the minister did say that government is aware of the risks associated with allocating such huge tracts of land to a single investor. And so the minister stated that the 72 billion United States dollar was a mere proposal and no agreement has been signed, and that there is no land that has been allocated to the investor, and neither has government approved any of the requests that the investor was making, such as tax breaks, lease fee waiver and citizenship. So that's the brief of the ministerial statement that was made by the Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Honorable Chipo Kamlenga.
After the consideration of that ministerial statement, the House did proceed to consider a report, and this report was presented by Mr. Movika, who is Shangombo Member of Parliament, and was urging the House to adopt the report of the Committee on Transport, Works and Supply on the road fleet in Zambia for the third session of the 13th National Assembly. This document 2021. It was seconded by Ron, Member of Parliament. At the time, the acting minister Honorable Gary Nkombo, who was on the floor of the House debating the report. So when business resumes on Wednesday, the Honorable Acting Minister of Transport and Logistics will continue debating. So basically, Claudette, this has been the business for today.
Absolutely. That's all the time that we had for you today, Friday, 20th June 2024. I would like to thank you for having tuned into Parliamentary Television. And from all of us here, it's bye-bye, and do have a lovely long weekend. God bless.
Questions that you may individually have. Yesterday, we requested